is Tuesday, September 3rd at 6:02 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. All members are present. The invocation will be led by Councilman Clint Schrader. The pledges by Chief Scott Niffen. If you'll please rise.
Pray together. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come together as leaders of Trophy Club to provide direction for this town by taking the consideration of the voices of our citizens. Thank you for blessing us with this wonderful government body that we have. Thank you for making Trophy Club a great place to live. We also thank you for the recent rain that we had. We need more, but thank you for what we've been given. We ask that you be with us today as we conduct our business. Please guide us to conduct our business in a way that would honor you and be respectful to others. Lord, we also ask that you be with our friends at Denton-Guyer High School who are going through a recent loss of a student. Please be with those who are touched or affected by the loss, and please allow them to heal. We ask also you be with the men and women of armed forces who protect our country, both here and abroad. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, for our first item is citizen presentations. Amy, do we have anyone signed up? No. Okay. The next, it would be the consent agenda. All matters listed as consent agenda are considered to be routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If a discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as amended at the dais.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank you, Travis. You handled that amended flat.
Yeah,
He was a happy camper.
that's good stuff.
Okay, moving on to item number 8. Presentation of a proclamation for United Way declaring September as Live United Month. And we should probably have no, you should read, if you'd read it. Our Mayor Pro Tem will read the proclamation, please.
Proclamation. Proclamation declaring the month of September 2013 as Live United Month. Whereas United Way of Denton County achieves its mission to improve lives in Denton County by mobilizing community resources that address critical issues in education, income, and health, the building blocks for a better life. And whereas though the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program, United Way of Denton County staff, volunteers, and community partners prepared 612 federal tax returns this year, free of charge, for low-income Denton County households, returning $1,036,405 to the local economy and saving families $137,700 in tax preparation fees. And whereas in Denton County, 1 out of every 3 students are at risk of dropping out of school, and more than 8,200 children under age 5 live in poverty. United Way of Denton County mobilizes volunteers to mentor children, provide effective training for parents and caregivers, and assist in supplying critical needs such as food, clothing, and school supplies. And whereas more than 90,000 Denton County individuals are unsure where they will get their next meal, United Way of Denton County supports Freed America and Stamp Out Hunger food drive with the National Association of Letter Carriers. This past year, generating more than 40,000 pounds of food donations in one day. And whereas the senior population in Denton County is expected to double during the next two decades, United Way of Denton County and its partners provide services that allow seniors to remain in their homes longer and to age with dignity and respect. And whereas United Way of Denton County and partner agency volunteers donated more than 19,200 hours, valued at more than $425,000 in staff savings, and collectively providing help for more than 55,000 people in Denton County. And whereas donors gave $2,068,024 to United Way of Denton County just past year to support its mission. Its 20 partner agencies and more than 400 other health and human service nonprofit organizations. Now for I, Connie White, Mayor of the Town of Trophy Club, on behalf of the entire Town Council and all our citizens, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2013 as Live United Month in the Town of Trophy Club, Texas. Connie White. Well done. That's nice.
Okay, we need a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the proclamation for United Way.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, it's approved. Did you have anything?
I would only call the council's attention to the fact that we are going to have our open enrollment September 13th for the entire organization, and I have been very stingy about the idea of allowing payroll deduction process for you name it, because once you open that window, pretty much it's difficult to say no to just about anybody, whether it's a unique kind of cancer policy or what have you. United Way is a little different, and this year for the first time we'll be approaching our organization's employees to contribute in the United Way campaign, and we'll do so by way of payroll deduction. So we're kind of excited about giving back to our communities, and you know, as you know, we have just a handful of employees that live in Trophy Club, but the United Way umbrella stretches across the entire region. So we're all impacted, and we all will now have an opportunity to give back to our communities by way of payroll deduction. So I'm very excited to announce that.
Thank you. Okay. Item number 9, consider and take appropriate action regarding a resolution creating a blue ribbon panel to study the current governmental structure within the Town of Trophy Club and to make a recommendation to the Town Council, appointing members to serve on the panel and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and thank you, Council, for your efforts since the last time we met. And thanks to the 30-some-odd applicants, 33 applicants that applied. I cannot tell you, and I know I'm preaching to the choir to the council, the talent pool in that particular effort just blew me away. And I know that what we have done over since the interview of the applicants, you each submitted a ballot to me, and we weighted those in order of priority, and I have provided you then the results of those individual ballots. And I do know that there are some comments and concerns from the council about what we want to do at this point and how we move forward. I would make one statement to the for the council's consideration. I will announce, and I might as well go ahead and announce now, but in the town manager election update, we have two two candidates that have filed for the seventh elected position. And I think it would be very appropriate for you not to consider either of those candidates who will be running for office for this particular purpose. So having said that, the two candidates that have filed are Dina Boudreau and Philip Schaffner. I would ask you to, knowing what you had wanted to do is eliminate the political piece of this as much as you can. I think that would be something that the council would want to consider tonight as you move forward.
Thank you. Okay.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Mhm.
On Section 2, Mike, as far as I know, we only have two government entities, but it says all government entities that they'll be looking at.
You're looking at the resolution?
Yes, I'm sorry. On Section 2, fourth sentence, the operation and structure of all government entities. Is there anything else that we have that would be considered another governmental agency other than town and MUD?
Well, yeah, the school district's in town, but we're certainly not including the school district.
So I guess what Greg's asking is, should we define it as town and mud, one, and that way there's no confusion?
If I'm reading it right, the panel shall provide analysis and provide recommendations regarding the potential, what?
Section 2. It's down here.
Section 2,
I'm in section 2.
section,
Yeah, the council. Governmental.
page 80.
Page 80.
You're on that page now. There you go. I'm sorry.
The panel shall provide analysis and provide recommendations. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, it
Re-
starts with the
Operation
town, the town council of the town of Trophy Club, Texas, does hereby authorize. It starts with that.
Right.
And then including the operation and structure of all government entities
Oh, I got you.
operating within the town. Now, you got within the town, so I don't know how you want to look at school district or,
Well, obviously, the intent is
I
to
understand
consider
intent,
the town
I'm
and
just saying the
mud.
way it reads.
We can make that minor change to specify the town and mud one.
Yeah, and Patricia, what do you think?
Well, I think the second line clarifies, but if you're more comfortable with both instead of all, we can certainly make,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the next line does call out town and mud, one, but either way.
if it makes you more comfortable with both, then we can sure change that. It's not a big deal.
Doesn't matter to me, I don't, I'm clear on the intent.
I think
What-
the sentence clarifies it. Is that, are you good with that?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I just want to make sure we brought it to attention if there's any questions, and we've clarified it here at the council.
That's fine.
Um,
I think we need to get a motion.
we either need to make a motion or have some
Go ahead.
discussion about the list.
Make a motion and then we can talk about the
Well,
ordinance and do the list.
But I'm not sure.
Mayor,
Mhm.
I would make a motion, if that's in order. I would ask that we approve a resolution creating a blue ribbon panel to study the current governmental structure within the town of Trophy Club and to make recommendations to the town council, appointing members to serve on the panel and providing an effective date.
Second. Second.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, we talked about it.
We have
So,
some,
Bill, go ahead.
Go ahead. I have a couple amendments I'd like to make, but
Okay.
if you'd like to.
Well,
speak to
I just
something.
want to not second, but kind of echo what Mike said earlier. Really good talent pool here of 33 candidates, I guess. However, because we are wanting to eliminate the political, what's the term I want to use? Participants, there you go, yeah, of the Blue Ribbon Committee, I would say we probably need to remove consideration for those two individuals. Not saying they're not qualified, but just for fairness.
They just move up.
Is there, I mean, we all kind of agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor, we've had some let me just make the motion first. I move that the alignment of the number of individuals selected from the mud and from the PID be modified to 4 from the PID and 8 from the mud.
I'll second that.
Let me speak to that just a minute. We've had some discussions. I know Councilman Mayor Goodbuddy has strongly put forth about a 50-50% split based on population. I went and took a look at that. I took a slightly different take on determining what the population is or will be. When I look at the Highlands, look at the PID, that neighborhood was set up with 1,489 lots. Now, I think it's slightly less than that because of the changes in neighborhood 8, where we went from townhomes to the individual residence, but it's not a big number, not a big change. If you take 14,000 population, an expected build out between 14 and 15,000, and you divide that by the standard that North Texas Council Government uses of 2.9 per house, you end up with 4,827 taps or homes in Trophy Club. When you lay the PID lots back against that, you come up with a 30.8% figure. And so that's where I come up with the 1/3 split there. If you take a look at the applicants that we had 11 from the PID and 22 from the mud. That's also a 1/3 split. And so, kind of based on those things, I put the motion forward.
Well, I would disagree with that based on the fact that, first of all, your numbers is not 2.9. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average in Trophy Club is 3.1. However, having said that, if you will go back to and remember what I said, the number of people that are living per household in the Highlands is far greater than the number of people living in homes in the mud area, simply because all of the young families with children, I can drive through the older mud parts and the children aren't out and playing, but if you come up to the Highlands and drive around, the children run the streets up there. So just doing that is I don't think an appropriate way. And the other is what the home value, what the property values will be, the tax values when it's built out. And I will tell you that in the Highlands, the homes carry a much greater appraised value than they do, and we collect taxes based on value, not on heads. So as we build out, and I think from day one, we've talked about 6 and 6, and you know the unfairness, and some of the people that were here that night talked about that. It's always been, if the PID gets control or the mud gets control, we want a fair hearing here. And this has a huge impact on those that live in the PID, because one of the things that the mud had proposed in their proposal to the town that we rejected was that the PID needed to pay higher water rates because they were outside the district. And so they needed to pay a much higher water rate than those that lived in the mud. And I think for fairness sake, an equal split, because whatever methodology you use, I can use one methodology that says there's going to be more dollar value in the Highlands when it's built out. And I know there's more children that live in the Highlands than down here. And I think if we stay, and it's basic, I mean, you know, there's no really excellent, definitive, quantitative way to say. So when I originally made this motion based on your idea, I'll still give you that. If this goes bad, though, it's your fault. I still think a 50-50 split's fair.
Well,
Greg?
I will,
Wait, Greg.
oh, go ahead, Greg.
I think the impact is on both sides. I don't think the PID is affected anymore because currently the water rates are running through the town. With all due respect, kids don't vote. We should be looking at rooftops. They don't pay the property tax, and they simply don't vote. I think it's rooftops. 2/3 of the town live within the mud district. And I've been preaching that since day one.
Go ahead, Jeanette.
Oh, I was just going to make the comment because when we first started this, we said we wanted equal representation. So equal, we determined to be 6 and 6. But we also sent the message out to the residents that there would be 6 PID and 6 MUD representatives. And those people came in with the belief that they were going to be represented. So therein lies one of my positions on this question.
I would just say, taking a subset of what Danny said, that I feel pretty passionately about is this decision affects the PID as much as it affects the MUD. And I feel pretty strongly that it should be an equal split, 6 to 6, as we've been talking about the whole time.
I'll just, I've really been struggling with this one this week because irregardless of rooftops or population, the fact is we did get twice as many applicants from one side. The other thing is that the point that was made last time is what we should be dealing is what is best for all the residents. It's not PID residents and MUD residents, but everyone. What is the best for everyone? So, I mean, my personal thing would be to choose the best 12 from all and make sure we had broad representation. However, on the other side, we did tell people that it would be 6 and 6. And I think I have a concern with, you know, even though I really have struggled with it, I'm not sure I want to say, okay, you know, leave ourselves open to saying we change the rules midstream. So that's kind of a catch-22 for us, but I really...
I guess the motion's been made.
So do we vote on this?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion.
And
Can you just repeat the motion, or can you read the motion? Just so we make sure which way.
Motion was by Councilmember Rose to move alignment that the individuals selected from MUD and PID be modified, 4 from PID and 8 from the MUD. Motion was seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Tiffany.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
Good discussion.
I have an amendment.
Thank you.
I'd like further discussion on this. Is that
Certainly.
right? Okay, I'd like to also make an amendment or propose one. And that is, during the presentations and looking at the resumes of our applicants, we have a applicant who has experience in documentation, writing information from a meeting. So my recommendation is that we add one of these candidates for the position of secretary to this committee. Not voting, documentation. And the reason I'm also recommending this is that it would help to alleviate some of the workload that our town has, as well as it would kind of open it up to one more person to have to know what's going on. So
Well,
my recommendation is, and I don't know that I should use the name at this point until we have determined that.
my only thing would be, you chose your words carefully, and I'm glad you did, because I think this person shouldn't be given input. If they're not part of the 6 and 6, they need to be a silent voice in the room. They can obviously be taking notes and be able to share information outside of the meetings as appropriate. But yeah, there would be a non-verbal, non-participant appointed person.
I think
A scribe.
A scribe, for lack of a better term.
Would that be, if she was there and there was a quorum, would she be part of the quorum if they needed her?
I think the
Just
discussion.
asking.
I think the discussion at this point is without voice and without vote.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
Well, that's the, I personally, for me to sit in a meeting and say nothing, that's like, no. I find that to be practically, really impossible. I think that person, perhaps not voting, but actually putting that extra person on can help in the fact that we now have an odd number. Although I don't really want anything to come down to that close a vote. I really think we need to build a consensus. But I agree with the concept of putting the extra person on, but to ask someone to be there and not have any input or, yeah, no, not,
Would perhaps appointing 2 alternates. This way, if we needed a quorum, and, because with 12, a quorum is 7, correct? Right?
that's right.
Yes.
So getting 7 people sometimes, if we're going to have a couple of meetings a week or every week, there could be a little difficulty in that. Yes, they can get transcribed through emails to people who don't attend, but, so I'm wondering if we should have 2 alternates, and if we need quorums, they could fill in.
Mayor, just as a point of order, Mayor Pro Tem Tiffany proposed an amendment, and she didn't get a second. And now we're talking, and now
I'll
we're
second
talking
it.
about some other issues.
I'll second
I'll
it.
second it.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
My apologies.
Mayor,
I just don't want to get off into another issue like alternates or something like that without resolving this one.
Can I say something? I like Jeanette's idea for the simple reason that we want really good documentation of what goes on at this meeting. I think we're going to want almost verbatim minutes. And if we have to take a member to take minutes, and that's going to take them away from being a participant. And I think having this is one of the more important panels I think that we have. And I actually think this is a very good idea, and I would vote to support that, Jeanette.
We've had a discussion, we've had a motion and a discussion, but the status within that, for that position, whether it's without voice and without vote, is not part of the motion.
Right. Okay, so our first motion is we want this person.
Okay. And then the second.
Well, can I offer an amendment to the motion? Sure. I would make a motion to amend the motion that's on the floor to make this person without voice and without vote.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? Well, I told you what I thought about that. All those in favor of the amendment with no voice and no vote? Opposed?
Nope.
Okay, well,
She tried to trick me, didn't she?
So,
I could agree with no vote, but
That
not
was
no
the
voice.
amendment.
That was the
The
amendment.
amendment, now
Back to primary.
now to the motion.
to the motion, right? All those in favor of Jeanette's motion to add the 13th person without, as amended,
Without
without voice or
or
vote?
vote.
All those in favor? Well, I want to add the person, but. Okay. I think that's unrealistic, guys, but
Now you wanted to discuss alternates?
I'll just, one thing real quick. Connie, I appreciate you saying it's maybe not possible, but it happens in business all the time.
Yeah.
People do it all the time.
this isn't business.
Well,
Business is different.
Why don't you make a motion to add 2 alternates? It was your idea.
Well, I was about to do that. I'd like to make a motion to add 2 alternates to serve on the Blue Ribbon Panel Committee.
I'll second that, so we can second it.
Okay.
can I make an amendment?
Yeah, already.
Now, can I ask a question? Would these alternates would be non-voting, they could attend, but they wouldn't vote unless somebody was absent?
Well, that'll be a legal discussion as far as a quorum. Are they strictly needed for a quorum? Or if there was only 10 showed up, would they be part of the
I don't know
12?
how you anticipate, I mean, typically when we use alternates, the only board we use alternates for is ZBA, and we call to see if there's gonna be a quorum, and if there's not going to be a quorum, then we call one of the alternates to see if they can attend to make up the whole board,
Yeah, but
so.
The alternates would only be,
I don't think, the problem with that is that I don't believe this ZBA is each case in
Right.
itself. That can take, an alternate stepping in. I believe that in this case, if you're gonna have alternates, they need to be there.
Every week.
Because Otherwise, how do they step in to vote intelligently about something without having any idea what's been going on?
Good point.
Yeah.
You convinced me.
You want to vote?
Well, I think, I believe that we have 12 members. We're going to have 12 members with one person, with a scribe. And I think 12 members, I believe 7, we've made it very clear that they need to be there. And if we add 2 alternates, then all of a sudden we have 14 people. And then who gets to vote? And I agree with, I think, just like to leave it at 12, but that's just my opinion.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the current motion to add 2 alternates, 1 from the mud and 1 from the PID.
So your amendment is that they be 1 and 1?
Yes.
Okay,
I'll second that.
keeping these amendments straight, I knew this was going to be a challenge.
I think we got it.
Is there any discussion on this? Okay, we're voting on the amendment that if we approve the original amendment, that it would be, the alternates would be made up of 1 from the mud and 1 from the PID.
Yes.
All those in favor?
I can do that.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Oh, was there opposed?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was going to say, is there any?
No.
Yes or no?
Okay,
It might smell.
so therefore, we have the motion to add 2 alternates who would be attending the meetings, if that's the case, and they would vote in the case of if there is not a quorum. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that the way
Now we're voting on the alternates?
we just voted on the makeup of them?
So I need to understand the alignment here. In the normal operation, if we have alternates come before us for a body, those alternates they replace somebody that comes off of a panel, departs the area and leaves. They replace a vacancy. What we're discussing here, as I understand it, is that these people will attend the meeting, and then if there is an absence of 1 or 2 or more, then they become active at that meeting. Is that what we're saying?
No, if there's an absence of a quorum.
So it has to go below 7 before they become active.
And they would get a call. Now, they could attend the meetings, but they would get a call saying, we're short on a quorum. Is it possible for you to attend?
To fill a quorum.
Here's my issue is, if you're an alternate and we have all of this complexity and information that has been flowing for several weeks, and those alternates are not in each of those meetings hearing the information, and then all of a sudden they are a part of a decision, what information do they have that they're using to make that decision?
Well,
So to me, excuse me,
That's right.
if they're an alternate, then the requirement is that they also attend every meeting.
But you're saying then, therefore, that all 12 will be attending every meeting, and that might not be true either.
Well,
What if only 10 of the 12 show up? They're going to be getting emails and updates, I would hope.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but,
I don't know. I just-
attending every meeting and not attending any till a certain point is quite
Yes.
different.
It's a dynamic that goes on.
Yeah.
That's exactly,
There's a
there,
dynamic.
and there's a group, there's a group
I know, I understand.
process in
I'm
there.
just-
Mike?
Mayor and council, I want to remind you that when we had all the applicants here, or as many as we could get here, and the mayor reviewed the intent of this blue ribbon panel and what the expectations were, she was very clear to all the candidates that this is a real commitment, and made a statement to the effect that if they meet, if you're not prepared to make that commitment and you end up missing 3 meetings. It doesn't have to be successive, but just 3 meetings. That's what kind of a commitment you are asking them to prepare for. Then maybe you should withdraw your application. No one did that. And at that point, I think if you get somebody who, runs into a situation that they find themselves not being able to commit to the established procedures of the committee, then it would be up to council to just go ahead and nominate somebody to replace that person. It
Now, I-
doesn't, you don't have to necessarily appoint alternates or anything like that. It's an open meeting. Everybody's going to be able to come that wants to come.
No, I agree with that. I just want to make sure, did we relate to all the applicants that if they miss 3 meetings, not necessarily in 3 in a row, that they would be removed?
There were.
It's a part of the.
That will be related in the organizational meeting as soon as we get one appointed. The very next step, once you appoint this board, is to have an organizational meeting, determine when and where they can meet and how often, and understand what the rules of engagement are and what the expectations of the council is.
Fair enough.
Okay?
Right. Okay, we have a motion to have 2 alternates. That would be 1 from each.
Yeah, right now, the amendment is the
We voted on the
split.
We voted on
We
it.
did.
We voted on that
Right.
already.
We voted on that.
So, based on that split and the alternates, all those in favor of adding 2 alternates? Opposed? I guess we changed our mind on that.
Good discussion, good discussion.
That's why you got to
That's
So
why
we
we do
have
it,
to
yeah.
walk through it.
I mean, you
Yeah.
discuss it.
That's why we do it.
I had a question, Mike. You said that they would determine the meeting time, but yet this resolution says a specific meeting time in it.
It does. It's in, and the reason it's there in italics is because we, you know, it's very important that, you know, I'm going to be the appointed liaison. However, I would anticipate that we'll have others from my staff available. And obviously, you know, the town attorney, as an example, has specified work hours, and we would love to be able to arrange those meeting times when we're all available. That language in paragraph 5 or section 5 can be amended as necessary.
I have an amendment to that paragraph. Section 5, page 80, if you've got it up, I would like to leave the first sentence standing and replace the rest of that 1 or 2 sentences, whichever it is, one long sentence, I believe, the rest of the paragraph. Replace the rest of the paragraph with the statement, the panel shall, I move to replace that statement with, the panel shall proceed with its tasks in an orderly and timely fashion.
Second.
So you're eliminating,
Are you eliminating where it starts in order?
The panel shall meet X times a month.
but you're
Where it
eliminating.
starts off saying the panel shall meet blank times a month. From there, the rest of that,
So in the 3rd sentence, after resolution, you're eliminating everything.
yes. Where it
Okay.
starts off saying the panel shall meet blank times per month, delete that, replace it with the panel shall proceed with its tasks in an orderly and timely fashion.
And I still second.
Okay, I have one issue with that. I think Mike made it pretty clear that, you know, there would be a number of times when we would need staff support and staff involvement. And I think we need to put some parameters around so that we don't have a committee, and if maybe there's a way this would work, but we can't be expecting our staff to be coming in on Friday nights, for example, or Saturdays. I think that's a lot to expect.
I think that would be up to the chairman of the committee to, it's just like, we don't always have Carolyn here, but she has graced us with her presence this evening as needed. And I think sometimes there'll be a financial person and sometimes there'll be somebody else. But I think the chairman, as long as they can clear that with staff and Mike controls the staff and their time, I think we need to not tie that parameter down too tight, Mayor.
Well, I don't want to tie the parameter down too tight. I just don't want them to be requiring our staff to be
Well, I
involved.
don't think Mike will
Lot.
allow the staff to be
Oh,
abused.
are you comfortable with that? You wanted it this way to protect that.
And that's exactly right. In a perfect world, I'd love to be able to schedule these meetings, but it's not a perfect world. So I understand that this committee is going to have to meet and determine when they can meet and how often. And we'll just try to work with them the best we can to have the adequate support that they would expect to have. So I'm perfectly okay with the proposal that's on the table.
Well, did we determine that we're not going to give an end time
Meeting rooms.
expectation?
I think in that organizational meeting, I'd still like to hang on to that
Why don't we just
December 31st.
December 31st
Okay, so they'll,
soft target, just to give them give this committee some reason to want to move through this process.
so that will then help them determine how much they've have to meet. They may have to meet every night for the next
And again,
3 months.
if it needs to go beyond 12/31, then all it
Right.
takes is an approval
Okay.
from the council.
Okay.
Just a question, rather than eliminate the whole thing, because you've got alternate meeting dates and times and places. Could we just eliminate, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, in the 6th sentence, on the 2nd and 4th Monday of each month? If you just eliminate that, it's everything is still open as far as meeting dates, times, staff liaison.
I think it's much easier and would allow for easier interpretation for everybody if we just make it what Councilman Rose has proposed, and we'll just work with the appointed committee and get it done.
As long as you're satisfied with that, that's fine.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion to make that change? Do you want to read that change one more time, please?
The verbiage would become, the panel shall proceed with its tasks in an orderly and timely fashion.
All those in favor of that motion? All right, we're good.
I'd make a motion that we appoint the members of the panel.
Well, let's approve the ordinance first.
We haven't approved the ordinance yet.
Okay. Make a motion for that.
It's already done.
It's already done.
It's already there.
That motion's
all
out there. We've
amendments.
just
No
talked
other
about the
amendments.
amendment.
Okay, oh yeah, we're going through amendments.
Okay,
Madam Mayor,
the resolution includes the people, doesn't it?
that's right.
Sorry.
Not there yet.
So
And
what we have to do is what?
can I go back and the one that y'all made, this is what I've added up there for this 13th person. There shall be one person appointed, I should say additional person appointed, to serve as a recording secretary to prepare minutes and assist with other clerical needs of the panel. The recording secretary shall not participate in the discussion of the panel nor have a right to vote on any decision of the panel.
I think that, the only thing is, I think that it's not, it's far from just a minutes thing.
Yeah.
That's really the,
Right.
It's the clerical.
but it's also in assisting with preparing your work products. That's where it's important, is you need somebody to pull it all together. That's, it's not just documenting the minutes. No, it's not just describe. It's somebody who's going to help pull together what you're ending up with.
Correct. A final product.
A recording
A
secretary.
final product.
Well, a
And,
secretary.
and/or there may be an opportunity to write an article for the newspaper using that information. I mean, all
draft
written
something for
communication, yeah.
Will that person be sending out an email to the members to updating them on what happened at the previous meeting
It's a good
or
question.
upcoming future
Maybe they have
meetings?
I think they-
get agreement with all of
I think
that.
that has to go through
Yeah.
the town secretary for public record.
Well, if it's going, I think that would have to be agreed upon by the committee. But the idea, Patricia, it's not purely scribe.
I'm trying again.
Or maybe they send information to.
It would be acting as the secretary or the committee. That's like Amy does. She prepares everything. She gets the information to us. She distributes it. She records it.
Well, I mean, the agendas
Create it.
will have to be prepared by someone on staff because it's going to be within our software and system. So that's
Right.
going to have to happen there. But I changed it up to say to prepare minutes and to provide general administrative support to the panel. I'm trying to keep it general because I'm not sure exactly what they'll need. I think it's more important that you describe to the volunteer who's doing this job what they're going to be signing up for than it is for me to pin it down so much in this resolution.
Okay.
I guess my question, what do you anticipate as far as staff members being at these meetings besides yourself?
Well, it depends on what's on the agenda to be discussed.
Well,
And
no,
I'm
I
not-
understand that, but I'm
not gonna
talking,
have my entire staff at every meeting.
what, will the town attorney have to be there? Will the town secretary have to be there?
Only if
No,
it's necessary.
Well, that's my point. So she's really acting as a secretary.
You know, I can turn the recording device on and have provided for money in the proposed budget to actually video each one of these meetings.
Now, this is all determined on whether this person that we have in mind accepts the opportunity.
Minor.
So, so there you go.
Or anyone
Or anyone.
accepts it.
But I think that's good. Okay.
All right.
I switched it up to general administrative support,
There you go.
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
That's good.
Secretarial and general administrative, I guess. I don't know. I'm really, I guess I'm thinking it's really not a clerk, it's really, it's kind of a combination between Amy and April.
A reporter.
That's what I'm trying to say.
It kind of is.
Have to
It
be able
kinda
to be
is.
the creator as well.
It is. I agree.
Okay. All right. So, all right. Did we answer your question, Tricia?
I think so.
I just lost track. So,
You want me to read back what I've written now?
I guess,
There shall be one additional person appointed to serve as a recording secretary to prepare minutes and to prepare secretarial and secretarial and general administrative support to the panel. The recording secretary shall not participate in the discussions of the panel nor have a right to vote on any decision of the panel.
okay, I guess. All right. So now we have to get the people on here before we can vote on the motion. Right? And,
The resolution includes the appointments, so yes, ma'am, you'll need to make the
Okay.
appointments and then you can vote on the resolution.
Mayor, I would suggest to the selection, I don't think it's important that I think we just take the top 6 from each
Right.
and draw a line. If there's a tie, you can go to maybe the number of votes. I don't, as a tiebreaker, I don't care. I don't think it's important that we talk about the number of votes that were received or the points that were cast, that we just take the top 6.
I would argue one point. If there's a tie, I don't think the higher number of votes should be selected. I actually think the lower number of votes should be selected because then that means that their ranking, their average ranking would have been higher.
There are no ties.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
Where?
right here, this set.
Oh, well, yes, but.
No,
I agree with the, yeah,
that,
and
I know
the
what you're
number
saying,
of
but
votes.
Right.
The number of
Well-
votes was how many people on council selected.
Right, but
Yeah, so I would go with
but if
that.
somebody had fewer votes, that means the people who voted for them had them ranked higher and thought they should be more.
you were having 25 people and you had to pick 6.
Okay.
I don't know that
Yeah,
that's a difficult
I,
ranking.
w- I would suggest a number of votes.
I would too.
I think we got it backwards.
Okay.
If we do it the other way, it doesn't get us out of the tie.
Right.
Absolutely, it does.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, maybe I'm not explaining myself right then. There is a tie.
Correct?
The two people have a weighted score.
3.
Oh, you're right. It is 3.
There are 3. And it is the number of votes.
I concur with Councilman Mayor.
You want me to offer an amendment? So
No. And down at the other one, the PID, mark out that. There's 1, 2.
I see what you're saying now. Yeah, I didn't see the third, to be quite honest.
Mayor,
Mhm.
for the benefit of those in the audience and some of my staff who are looking at me quizzically, I'd like to at least very briefly talk about how we got to where we're at. And I started that process earlier this evening when I thanked each of you for submitting their ballots. We asked you to consider submitting 6 names from the MUD and 6 names from the PID in preferential order in your mind, because the first person on your ballot for the MUD, as an example, was given a weighted score of 6. The second person 5, the third person 4, right down to your 6th person who got 1 vote. Okay, so it was a weighted.
One
it was a
point.
weighted
1 point.
1 point. Thank you. So it was a weighted score that each of you assigned, or that was assigned to that ballot based on your preference for who you'd like to see on this particular panel. And you did the same thing for the PID. What I simply did was collate that information to the list that you see today. And you've already determined that you're going to have 6 and 6, and what we have is a tie on the MUD side. And I would recommend that the council just consider those 3, deliberate, and select one. I mean, you've come through that process. I mean, and then read who they are.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if we have to read who they are, but one had 4 number of votes and the other only had 2 number of votes.
Right.
So he would be the pick,
The 4.
the 4.
Right.
And so I don't think we need a discussion about the other 2.
No.
I don't like that.
I don't like the whole thing. I found this to be very uncomfortable. I don't think this was necessarily the way I would have liked to vote, but that's what we decided. There's just so many really good people here. It's difficult. So
Unfortunately, I can't build a panel of 33.
no, but usually you would sort of eliminate and go that way. But this is the way we did it. So
Well, I'll say this, the person that I selected didn't get the 4 votes. They got only 2 votes. But I like the 4 vote because if we pick based on these 6 council people, 4 of us,
right.
4 of them are going to vote for that person, so.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't disagreeing with that. It was,
Yeah.
okay.
Fair enough. I still like the college football way.
Okay. Let me make sure we have it. So then we need to read off the people.
Would you like me to read the list?
Sure. You want to read that?
I move that the following people be selected for the Blue Ribbon panel from the MUD. Mr. Henning, Ms. Fontaine, Mr. Edens, Mr. Baker, Mr. Arietta, and Mr. Carlton. And from the PID, Mr. Gamache, Mr. Como, Ms. Franklin, Mr. Christofferser, Mr. Hillman, and Ms. Duncan, correct?
Mr. Lincoln.
Mr.
Now, what about my,
And the
and the secretary administrator would be Sandra Millett.
included in the motion. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, that motion is for the people specifically. So that's
The
your amendment.
12
Okay.
and the secretary.
All right. Any discussion? As I said, the only thing I can say is this was incredibly difficult, I think. We have an incredible set of people who have put in for it. I don't know how you make it any better or easier, however, that's what we have. So all of those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Now, we have to vote on the overall motion with the people. So, do we have a motion? We do have a motion out there.
Primary motion still on
Okay.
the floor.
All those in favor of approving the overall motion to set up the Blue Ribbon Committee? Okay, thank you. And I want to thank everyone who put in for this committee because, as I said, and I hope that if people were not chosen for the committee, that you will still consider making time to attend and provide input, because I think this is a very complicated issue, and I think it's important.
Mayor, if I could at this point, I'd also like to say, I appreciate everybody that put in an application. It was an incredibly difficult choice to make along the way. But however, having all of this talent sign up, I would like to remind you that we're also taking applications for our other boards and commissions. And we have
Currently, TERS is open.
and we have a new one. If you're into the financial, we call it TIF or TERS for the new district that we've just formed. Operates somewhat, again, with the finances and is somewhat equivalent to the EDC 4B board. In other words, you have some authority over finances. So that's a big one.
Ms. Millett?
I'm Sandra Millett, and I understand I've just been chosen secretary who is going to explode because she won't be able to speak or vote at the meetings. I want to make this clear before I fully accept this. My understanding is I will take the minutes of the meetings, I will notify members of what's going on, send them out the minutes of the prior meeting, and also I will assemble and file a formal report of all of our final decisions to the City Council. Is that correct?
And in addition to that, there might be an opportunity for you to send information from the meeting to April to post on the website and such as that.
Great.
To kind of
Okay.
help residents stay connected as well.
I need email addresses of everybody, of the 12 and the alternates.
The town manager will.
Okay,
Get you
I
up
will
to
stop
speed.
in and see you after work tomorrow afternoon. Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
For
Thank
accepting.
you.
Is that an acceptance?
Yes, did you say yes or no?
Did she say yes to the dress?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right, and moving on to item 10. Consider and take appropriate action regarding an ordinance amending Section 812 Parks and Recreation of Article 8 of Chapter 1 of the Code of Ordinances relative to fees for Trophy Club Park and for the community pool, providing for publication and providing an effective date. Adam?
Yes, Mayor. This was obviously at their meeting on the, or whichever one it was in August, 19th of August. Thank you, Councilman Rose. There was a couple formatting issues and a couple things we cleared up on this one. Let me just tell you what those are really quickly. The only changes was we gave a different name on Trophy Club Park. We just now call it vehicular entry.
Okay.
Okay, so that resolves any conflict between resident, non-resident. It's all vehicular entry, so it's not boat, not ATV. The daily rate's spelled out in the right place, $4 for the pool. I'm just going through them real quick. We do not rent the small pool by itself anymore, so the only way that's going to be done is with the complex. If you rent the entire complex, the small pool, we don't rent that separately. And the other thing that we changed was, after talking with Jacob and everything, we're not going to do a deposit anymore. The rate of rental is so high that it will be the entire amount when they rent the pool due. And just as it says in there, as long as they give us more than a week notice, they can get their deposit back. Less than a week notice is forfeiture.
The rent back.
The rent. Yes, I'm sorry. What
You
did I
just
say?
said,
You said
you just said
deposit.
you got rid of the deposit.
I meant rent. I'm sorry. They can get the rent back, and then under 24 hours would be forfeiture of that because we've lost the space that we would have rented to somebody else.
So what you're saying is that the rental amount will be due at the time it is rented. Some point in-
Reservation is made.
Reservations made, okay?
Yes, sir.
I do have one question, again, on Trophy Club Park entry rates. Vehicular entry, $1. No change from what it was before, vehicle $1. But if I am a resident and I have the pass and I drive in, do I pay the vehicular rate?
If you just, The vehicular rate is for everybody. It's not a resident. That's why it doesn't say resident, non-resident.
Let me explain. I don't think Adam understands what your question is.
I see.
If you buy a vehicular pass,
Got
you're
it.
going to be given a card, and that card reader will allow you access.
I see the addition. We changed, put vehicular down in the 2 lines below. Got
Yes,
it.
sir.
Thank you.
And then, other than that, there were no changes between the 2 meetings. Like I said, looking at the other cities, the as far as the pool rates go, we're definitely on the more generous end still. And I did talk to a couple members of Park Board, and I also saw it posted on various Facebook sites. There was very little. There was really nothing spoken about the rates as far as that. I talked to Haley Little today, actually off Park Board, and she said several people, and she said the feedback was that was reasonable. Obviously, no one likes a rate increase, but with the cost of the pool and everything, that it was a reasonable increase.
On the one of the things I noticed was that the small pool rental went away. Obvious due to lack of demand, I'm going to be my thought.
It's because it requires, in other words, it doesn't occur. It
Okay.
really was a non-issue.
That's what I
They
mean.
didn't rent
No
the
demand.
small pool.
No demand.
That was the biggest reason.
The other question I had is on the pavilion reservation. When you rent the large pool, do you also get the pavilion or not?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
It's only when you rent the splash pad you don't get it. So if you want the pavilion and you rent the splash pad, you have to rent the pavilion as well if you want the pavilion. And that basically, unless it's all the same party and they can work it out, that will effectively knock out a large pool rental.
Yeah.
This is just a question. You saw increase this year in the use and the rentals?
The rentals definitely increased. The rentals increased. The overall numbers at the pool didn't go up that much as far as from a pool standpoint, but rentals did go up. And like I said, we noticed the resident versus non-resident. What I saw occurring was that the residents were losing slots to the non-residents. The non-residents were getting on the rentals a lot quicker. So that's why I said from a management standpoint, we'll open up the resident rentals a week prior. Only residents will announce the date, and so residents will have 1 week ahead of anybody else to lock up the times at the pool.
Are you going to do the same thing with swimming lessons? I would recommend that, because I had complaints from people who were not able to get into swim classes, and they were filled with non-residents.
Oh, you're not talking swim team. You're talking actually just the swim
Swim
lessons.
lessons, yeah.
Lessons, right. Just that
I'd heard that too.
you put it, a week ahead that residents can
We
sign
can
up.
do that. That's just an internal decision. We can do
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Good call.
I knew there was a math issue in this. If you rent the large pool, looking at the residential pool rate only, if you rent the large pool and get the pavilion with it, the large pool price is $300. If you also rent the splash pad on Monday through Friday, that's $225 for a total of $525. I have rented the complex, but the complex pool rental is $600.
The Monday through Friday rental on the splash pad is that's designed for the morning rentals. So we're trying to get people to. I see what you're saying, Councilman Rose.
So we could just put weekend only on item number 5.
Yes, that's the only time you could do it, is in the community pool.
With
Well,
in parentheses, weekend only.
Whatever it takes to make it work.
Yeah,
I
that
just
makes sense.
noticed that there was a math issue.
Okay, thank you.
So I don't know whether you need to.
I got some questions.
Okay, so that needs to be added.
Oh, I thought he was
Do we have
finished.
a motion on the floor?
We lost our attorney.
No, we don't have a motion yet.
Okay, I'll take some notes here.
Does anyone did you have a question, Greg?
What do you want? Do we want to do the motion first?
Let's
Get
put
on
it,
the
let's
table?
put it on the floor.
Okay.
I move to approve ordinance 2013-26.
Second.
Adam, do we have a some type of daily count where we are at capacity as far as people using the pool? Do we have that ability?
Yes, we have that ability.
Have we reached that? Are we under or over?
We normally are under that amount. Barring possibly the 4th of July, we normally are under that amount.
Are you concerned that by raising the rates, you might get less people to go?
No. I don't think we'll drop off at all based on looking at the basic what the other communities are charging for the pool rates. I don't think we'll get any drop off at all. In fact, I would anticipate that the issue will probably be revisited at some point upon build out of the town, that then it may become an issue, but you're looking at a couple years down the road. And at that point you can use fees to determine how you want the pool attended. If that ever becomes an issue where residents aren't being allowed to swim because of the capacity issues, but we're not there at this time.
Do we have the capability of breaking out the maintenance costs and knowing just how much the splash pad and pool cost us on a seasonal basis?
We actually did that. That was the original reason, Councilman Lamont. That's the original reason we came up with the original pool rates, was to, and so I could give that to you, was just to subsidize the splash pad.
Yeah, because I think that would be an important thing. Do you happen to have it handy by any chance?
No, I mean I can give it because it was the revenue, the projected revenue when we originally did the splash pad. So I could break that out to you. But what you're doing now is you're going over into pool operations. The splash pad was covered when we instituted the original fees. That was designed to cover the cost of the splash pad.
That is, Adam, isn't that the cost of operation, not maintenance?
Well, you're right. It's operations. It's not long-term maintenance. No, that's not in the cost.
Yeah, I just used the wrong terminology, but it would be the maintenance, operation, personnel, all those numbers that you would put into and come up with a number for the actual maintenance for the entire pool and splash pad. That would include concession.
Right now, this budget you see in front of you right now, or this fee structure, should take care of all but about $90,000 of pool operations.
What do you mean by off-season daily rate? We only have about 2 seasons in this.
We got rid of
area.
that. We removed it. It has
You
the
removed
ability.
it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
You know, when at the dais, it went away.
To do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to let you know, Mr. Councilman Lamont, the pool is designed that we could run the splash pad after the season. There's a cost involved because more than likely we would have to switch to adult guards because of the amount of kids that go back to school.
The actual pool and splash pad rentals, when you say the number was 600 or 660, what are the amount of hours for that? Is that for the whole day? Is that for 2 hours?
It's a 2-hour rental.
2-hour rental, that's what I thought.
Yeah. Can they stand in line to do it?
Did you say something, Jose?
I just wanted to say, as it relates to water facilities generally, most communities, the exception being NRH2O as an example, that go out to secure and is a revenue maker. Most municipally owned water facilities are a cost center to that municipality. This is no exception. What the proposed fees allow us to do is help mitigate that general fund subsidy to operate the pool and splash pad. But as Adam just alluded to, it's still a cost center for the town. And as you know, we've already gone through the proposed budget for fiscal year 14. It's still a cost center, and we included the assumption that these rates would be approved by the council.
Well, the way I've usually explained it, when we got into the rate thing, is that the bonds, the INS type thing, covers building it.
Right.
Our normal tax, our normal city tax for our regular maintenance operation tax covers the maintenance of it, and the fees cover this is the target anyway, the fees cover the operation. So, everybody's paying into building it, everybody's paying into maintaining it, and the users are paying into operating it. Now, that's not going to be exact, but that's a pretty...
I'll just leave it with it. My issue is that we're raising rates for the residents and a little bit for the non-residents, but my thing is the ATVs, I think They're non-residents for the most part. The horses that come into Trophy Club Park, we're not charging them. People come here and they say how great the park is, and we have property owners in South Lake that pay their taxes to South Lake. They come in, they use the park at no charge, and I just have a hard time for me to vote to raise rates for residents, but yet we got these other auxiliary things out there for non-residents that's costing us maintenance, and we're not charging them. So I have a big issue with
Those
that.
TCP rates have to be approved by the Corps of Engineers.
Right.
We've been through that before, but we didn't apply. Have we applied?
We didn't what?
Have we applied for that?
For rate increase?
I was gonna say, you mentioned the horses. I thought we had something set up for the horses.
That's right.
Well,
It's
I
coming down
understand.
the
I
road.
just,
Oh.
you have
We're
Trophy
still-
Club
we're
Park
still
on here, but I don't see
working with the
horses.
Corps.
They're working with
Oh,
that,
okay, so we're working with the Corps on the horses.
for the horses.
Yeah,
Future-
meet
future
with them.
amendment-
We meet with
future
them,
change to come.
Thursday, actually.
Right.
Okay, future change to come, perhaps. Mayor,
Next.
I'd like to make the two amendments, make the single amendment that we've previously discussed. I move to amend, under pool rental rates, residential rate, item 5, community pool complex rental, to add after that in parens weekend only. And under non-residential rental rates, item 5, community pool complex rental, add after that in parens weekend only.
Should that be weekend only, or should it be Friday, Saturday, Sunday only?
Weekend was the discussion.
I know, but I'm asking
Oh, I
Adam.
see that would be Saturday and Sunday.
No, it should be, that's the reason I'm saying, it. In the morning, it's Monday through Friday, but in the evening, it should be Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, the basis of the discussion, I don't have a second yet, but the basis of the discussion, hold off on a second if you would. The basis of the discussion was based on the rates above where it talks about Saturday and Sunday and Monday through Friday. That was the basis of the discussion which generated the weekend only.
Right.
So either, what I'm looking at now is maybe weekend only could be a confused factor. It
Yeah.
might include Friday. Let me withdraw my motion without the second so far and change that after pool rental rates, residential rental rate, number 5, community pool complex in parents, put Saturday and Sunday in parents, and under non-residential rental rates, number 5, community pool complex rental, once again in parents, Saturday and
Should be
Sunday.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
It's the higher rate.
because it's the evening.
It's the higher rate, though.
I know.
That drove it. It's the higher rate that adds up. It's Saturday and Sunday from above that adds up.
So if somebody wanted to rent on Friday, they would rent large pool rental plus spray pad rental, which would be $525
Exactly.
But isn't Friday considered a weekend?
for resident rate. Sorry.
That's why I changed it from weekend to Saturday and Sunday to parallel
Yeah,
the
that makes
previous language.
But I think it's supposed to be based on what Adam said before. I'm thinking the intention is Friday, Saturday, Sunday for the complex.
What is it, Adam?
You can make it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Actually, I would say this: we don't, believe it or not, Friday night rentals are not that big.
Okay.
We don't do that many Friday night
So
rentals.
you want to leave it as is for Friday then? If they're not that big, then we can leave it the way it is.
I would. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to decide this. The community pool rental complex, basically you throw the small pool and just you throw that in is what you do. You can't rent it by itself. You throw it in. The splash pad designed for Monday through Friday is designed for the mornings. That's Monday through Friday morning. So I do think I would need to change it. Actually, looking at this, to be the spray pad, both the spray pad and the community pool rental, to be Friday evening, and then Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, so would we like to table this, let Adam work on it a little while and
I was
come
about
back
to say
to
the
it?
same thing. I think we should table this. Also, the horse. You have a meeting with them on Thursday about the horses and stuff.
Well, I mean, either the whole unit
I
or,
think the whole unit.
Well, the horse thing is a core issue, and I'm just, that will be a process.
Okay, so when we decided Thursday, it would be.
I don't think what he's saying is I don't know that we'll get the core approval by Thursday.
Okay, that's what I
It
thought.
is a
Okay.
process that we go through.
Okay.
I'm
Do
positive.
we want to table
yeah.
this, or do we want to? We know essentially what we're trying to do here.
It's just one small change.
It's just how he
Friday,
wants to
adding
word
Friday
it.
evenings is all we're adding, really.
So we could let him.
Well,
I would just suggest-
When you do it, it needs to match up with what's verbiage at the top, so you don't create an internal conflict in what you're doing, okay?
I would just suggest that it's for next season, so delaying it a week or so is not the end of the earth.
I even,
And secondly, a lot of people away for Labor Day weekend. Maybe they didn't pay attention. Gives them a little more insight as far as we can get some feedback as to whether the residents approve or oppose this or have any opinions on it.
well, my purpose of tabling it was to just bring it back later in this meeting, give Adam a chance to sit down and say, you know, this is parallel construction between these two sections. This is the way it needs to be worded, and bring it back before the end of the meeting, and we take it then.
Yep.
That would be my thought.
Okay, so you're gonna table this?
Yeah. I wanna
Table it.
Table till later in the meeting.
Till
We'll
later
bring
in
it
the
back
meeting.
and,
You need a second?
yeah.
Do
we'll
we
do
need
that.
Oh, second. We'll fix it.
Okay, all in favor? All right. Okay. Item 11. Consider and take appropriate action regarding an ordinance amending Section 1.20 licenses and tags of Article 1 Animals of Chapter 2 Animal Control, and amending subsection A registration of Section 8.06 Animal Control of Article 8, Schedule of Fees of Chapter 1, Administration of the Code of Ordinances of the town relative to animal registration and the related fee, providing for publication and providing for an effective date. Chief Niffen?
Mayor and council, you have before you a recommendation to increase our licensing fees to annual instead of once in a lifetime, not to increase the actual fee, but to require an annual registration of animals so that people would be prompted to check their rabies vaccination to make sure they're up to date and hopefully help return these animals to their homes by identifying them with the collar tag. In preparing for this, we reviewed a number of different ordinances throughout the area, primarily from cities smaller or equal to in population to Trophy Club. They included Sanger, Crum, Lake Dallas, Lake Worth, Royce City, Highland Park, and Highland Village. Highland Village, of course, is larger, but the median household income is about the same as Trophy Club. All of these required an annual registration fee. Some required a fee for sterilized animals and a higher fee for non-sterilized animals, which I thought was interesting. Some of the cities outside but near the DFW area, Graham and Decatur, also both charged annual fees. We looked at some of our neighboring cities at the recommendation of a council member. Flower Mound has an annual registration, but there's no charge for it. Grapevine currently has no registration requirements, but we understand that there's talk among animal control persons about proposing an annual registration. And there's an ordinance that's been recommended in South Lake that would require an annual fee of $5 per year for a fixed or altered animal and $20 a year for a non-sterilized animal. And Roanoke charges $5 a year and $10 for non-sterilized animals. So these are some of the comparable cities in our area, cities that are a little larger than us or have a similar median household income to Trophy Club. And we had the recommendation to approve the annual fee at $5 per animal for dogs and cats, ferrets and pot-bellied pigs.
Mayor, I would like to move that we approve ordinance number 2013-24.
Second? Does somebody second it?
Oh, okey dokey.
I'll second it.
Is it
then.
20?
I have to.
Four?
Am I at the wrong one?
I thought it's
I'm at the wrong one.
25, isn't it?
Oh, okay, wait.
It's,
25.
okay,
Sorry.
25. Ordinance 25. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 2013-25.
All right, do we have a second? I'll second it. I can do that, right?
Sure.
Okay.
You have a vote, you can second it.
Lest you think I would be quiet this evening, Mayor.
What would ever give me that idea?
I want to state that I oppose, in general, the whole ordinance, and I don't believe it needs to be amended, but I think it needs to be repealed. My opposition is not because I am anti-pet or that I have a secret desire to have rabid animals attacking the children of Trophy Club. I oppose it simply because it hasn't worked in the past, it doesn't work today, and there is nothing to suggest that it will work in the future. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Let me explain. According to the Trophy Club Police Department, our police department, since 2001, 13 years, there's been total registrations of pets of 1,270. That's as of this morning. 1,148 dogs, 122 cats. Of course, many of those pets have moved away, or for other reasons, they're no longer in Trophy Club. In 13 years, we've averaged less than 100 registrations a year. I would estimate that there are currently at least 4,000 pets in this town, maybe more. Obviously, the current ordinance hasn't worked. The other reason I oppose this ordinance is that to make it work will require a huge burden on the police department, and in particular the police officers. They would be forced, in my opinion, to make it work to stop residents that are out walking their dogs and check for registrations. If you want it to work, you got to police it. They would need to be at the dog park doing the same thing. Of course, we would require that of Trophy Club residents at the dog park, but we wouldn't require that of people from out of town coming over here. They would need, the officers would no longer be looked upon with the same degree of respect that they currently hold. The other burden that the police department have would be deal with the administration and management of the enforcement. What would you do if all of a sudden hundreds of residents wanted to register their pets? Who would do it? We would have to take officers off the street. Who would maintain the database? If a pet is registered one year and not the next year, who's going to contact the owner to find out why? The only reason that has been given for the need of this ordinance is if a child is bitten and the animal is caught, they will know if the animal has been vaccinated for rabies and know how to reach the owner. I submit that responsible pet owners already have everything that the police department would need without the ordinance. Irresponsible pet owners will not, and this ordinance will not change that. In my opinion, we would be punishing the many for the sins of the few. The solution is simple, at least for me. There is already a state law called the Rabies Control Act of 1981 that requires that every pet be vaccinated for rabies and that the pet must wear a tag. We don't need to pass an ordinance when there's already a state law. We don't do that for every other law that the state has. Why should we do it with pets? But what we can do is pass an ordinance that says you got to have the owner information, contact information on the dog's collar. For me personally, my veterinarian uses one of those little vibrating pencils and puts our name and our phone number on the back of the rabies tag. Failure to comply with having that on would carry a hefty fine. Punish the violator, not everyone else. This also removes the burden of administering and enforcing an unenforceable ordinance. When I asked the police department to tell how many pets have been picked up and the owner contacted because it was registered with the town, I was told, and unfortunately, those are stats that we do not have available. One thing I learned a long time ago is if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. I think we should repeal the ordinance in its entirety.
I do have a strong, great concern as to how do you enforce it, and you supported it with, and I agree, the cost to do it, whether it's labor or whatever it is. I don't know how you enforce something like this. I honestly don't. I mean, well,
I was gonna say, I appreciate what Danny and Jeanette both said. I don't have a dog in this fight. No. So,
I'll lend you one.
I've been waiting all day to say that.
Bill has a few down.
I have two.
Okay, go ahead, Bill.
Okay,
First of all, I want to thank the chief for telling us all the cities that you've gone out and
that's
looked
good.
at, and how you looked at them by sizes. I looked at Fort Worth. Well, first of all, I looked at Roanoke and Keller, and I went, yep, they have a fee and they have a registration. Then I went to South Lake and got basically less information than you had. It was an interesting event. I got transferred phone to phone and wound up talking to the Keller animal control folks, because Keller takes care of South Lakes, but did find out, not to the extent that you did where they were at, but the fact it didn't exist. And then I also checked with Grapevine, and they said, no, we don't have one, but here again, I didn't have the insight that you've got. I also checked with Flower Mound, and like Flower Mound does have one, but what Flower Mound does is there's no charge. No charge for the registration. They want you to come in annually so they can kind of maintain, I guess, a current database. The purpose of registration, as I see it, is not so much the rabies. My dog has 3 tags. He has the tag from the town saying, I'm registered in Trophy Club, several years ago. He has the rabies tag, which you can, with Animal Clinic in Roanoke's phone number and a number, so if you really want to trace the little dog down, you can call over there, give them the number, and they can tell you who he belongs to. And then he also has owner's information on him, so he carries 3 tags. So as far as registration, my concern is the currency of the database, because I don't know whether you're aware. I had recently had a small issue with one of my little dogs. He's too boisterous. And so the question was, well, he needs to come over and be registered, and I need to see his rabies vaccination certificate. And I said, he has a tag, and this is his number, and he is registered. Well, we can't find him in the database. Now, I'm going to trust that this is a small individual issue rather than a large one. But, I mean, he's been in the database about 10 years. So I can understand how he might be sorted out or something based on the average age of a dog. So I'm concerned about, if we have a database, that database is functional and that we can use it. I don't have a problem with maintaining a database so that when we have a dog loose, provided he's got a tag on, that we have an opportunity to get him to his owner in a timely fashion. I don't really have a problem with that. I just have a problem with the additional fee. So, I mean, as I look at it, if it's basically come in and get a tag because we want to know your dog's out there on the street and we got a number and we can get him to you, and we're not going to charge you anything for that, I don't have a real problem with that. But, I mean, there's one other issue in this ordinance that I have a problem with, and I got that from looking at some of the other cities. The penalty down here at possibility of $2,000 a day, per day, that's beyond an eye-opener. I think I found another city that was at 500, but it's still an eye-opener.
Yeah, that is the maximum for health and safety violations, and that goes to the whole chapter. Within that chapter, there may be various ranges. The minimum would be $500 for an ordinance violation. That's per state law.
Okay, so, I mean, even if we were to stick with this, can we drop it to 500?
The judge sets the fine.
Yeah, I understand
You can set
that.
the maximum for this specific fine at 500, but that range really goes to the whole chapter, and that's why we leave it globally. But the state statute will determine what that what that range is, and also the judge will set a fine accordingly. And I can tell you that none of ours get anywhere near that, especially for a first offense, so.
Well, I would say that if we do go forward with this and we choose to do it, I think there should be a fee. It kind of goes back to if you have a dog, you pay for it. So why, and we have to collect some money to support the time it takes to keep the database. I mean, so the fee is a part of all of that. My whole big concern about this is the enforcement of it is, and getting residents to come in and register their dogs, just like you said, Danny. I mean, right now we have probably 4,000 or 5,000 dogs, and a quarter of them are registered.
Well, I
don't know how you get that done.
First of all, I know some of the things Danny pointed up, I talked to you about, Mike. Can you kind of answer, as far as handling because I had a concern with the workload and such.
Historically, animal registration, you're not going to get 100 people lined up at the door to register their animals. Generally speaking, this is done by exception. We're not going to send police officers out on the sidewalk and stopping people walking their pet to check and see if they've got their registration tag. We would have a presence at Pet Fest, July 4th. We'd have a booth to accommodate folks who want to get their pets registered. We would have a marketing situation where we would let the folks know that you have to not only register them once in a lifetime now, but if this were to pass, it would be an annual registration, and we would be assured that they are properly vaccinated. I think we have to be proactive as much as we can. Are we going to catch every pet in this town that's not registered? Absolutely not, and nor does any other community. But we can be proactive about trying to educate our citizens by providing a local ordinance. It keeps it local in the courts here. If they just refuse, we can do something about it and bring them here and get it taken care of. There is a state law that requires rabies vaccination. I mean, what is our police officer to do, or what is our animal control officer to do? Remind them?
Well, that's one of the things I think
that's where we're at. But to get to your operational issues, I would not anticipate a huge deluge of pet owners dumping on, the animal control or Janet Grunt or the police department to get their pets the pets registered. It is similar to what we do with code enforcement. We go out and in some instances enforce our code of ordinances on a selective basis. We're not going to go out and take a ruler and measure people's yards grass height to make sure they're less than 9 inches tall. We do it by exception. We see something that doesn't look appropriate, we'll ask them about it.
I think that's good, Mike, excuse me, that's fine about measuring the grass, but there's no state law about the height of the grass. There is a state law about wearing dog tags. The other thing, and if in 13 years, we've been able to get a total of 1,200 people to do this, and we're going to burden the police department with this. Like I say, I lived in South Lake. South Lake didn't have anything like that. Grapevine, you say, doesn't have anything. And God knows they've survived. And I disagree with you. If you're going to have an ordinance and you want it to work, you got to enforce it. And if you're not going to enforce it, then don't have the ordinance. When we wanted to slow people down in town, there's a state law against that, by the way, and we went out and had the officers write tickets. And if you want to enforce a tag ordinance and you're going to establish one, and you're going to have to go out and do something, or it's going to continue not to work. So is that what we're up here for, is to just create another bureaucracy within our town that we don't enforce, and then we can say, well, it didn't work? I just think that's the problem with government today. We make laws that are stupid, that don't make any sense, because it makes us feel good. Doesn't make me feel good. I think it's dumb.
Chief, I've got some operational questions. Do the police or the animal control officer currently go to the dog park and check tags? And would they be doing that now that it's an annual basis?
They do go to the dog park on occasion.
And what if there's a non-resident?
A non-resident, I
Right.
think it's a public park. They're
So they can't give them a
They
ticket?
still have to have a rabies tag. That's really what
Okay.
they're checking for.
But they're not registered? Okay.
in town.
My,
yeah.
my concern, if you start doing it annually, that you'll chase them back to South Lake Dog Park. The other thing is, now that it's annual, and the year is up, are you going to be sending out notices to come in and renew?
We've not fully fleshed out the process for how that is going to happen. We were going to wait on the ordinance to be passed. The effective date would be January 1st. That would give us time to develop an online program so people could submit their registration and their rabies vaccination proof online, make it simple for them. Our database would be set up so that it kicked out the people, I say kicked out, it alerted us to people whose registrations had expired, and we would notify them.
Well, I think that's an issue for me. It's almost like a Nancy Pelosi. You got to pass it to know what's in it. You want us to pass something, and then you're going to define how you're going to do it.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
You don't want to hear it. So you're saying we have to increase personnel at all for any of this?
I'm sorry, your hand was in front of your face, Mr.
See, I look at it, we might actually deter people from registering if they know they have to do it on an annual basis.
They wouldn't have to go online. We do it in person if they'd like. They can make an appointment, or they could just come by the police department like they do now.
And you don't see this requiring any additional staff?
No. We're anticipating a full-time animal control officer this fall. Beyond that, we would not need additional staff.
Just for the record, Bill, my two dogs, I got chips in them, and I think there's a Bordadella. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, probably naming it like the dance, but there's some kind of that's another tag that you put on the dog, especially if it's for a dog park.
I
Dogs
do.
are so small, I don't
have
know
a-
whether I can chip them.
Yeah, you'd take out a
I have a
bone.
question to the chief. Your research indicated that a number of the towns do in fact have a ordinance, but there's several who do not. However, they are going to look at enforcing an ordinance. What is driving these towns who've not had ordinances to step it up and do this?
I think what's driving South Lake's ordinance is that they have combined with Keller and one other city, Colleyville, maybe, in sharing their animal control shelter, a regional animal control shelter in Keller. So some of that is going to be to offset the expenses. But it's my understanding that when Keller shelter is fully operational, that an unvaccinated animal would be vaccinated and chipped before it left the shelter. So there's going to be some expenses there. That probably explains why they're anticipating a $5 annual fee for sterilized and $20 fee for non-sterilized animals.
Do we, if someone, if a dog gets out and someone finds the dog, or the police pick up the dog, and when we return it to the, if we're able to find the owner, do we charge them anything?
Yes, ma'am. It's $30 for transport and $10 a day for keeping the animal in the shelter.
Is there a charge for a loose dog?
Sir?
Is there an additional charge for a loose dog?
Sometimes, depending on whether or not they've had repeat violations.
I'm for all of those.
There's no state law for loose dogs, I don't think. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
There's a rabies tag law.
Okay, let me ask
I-
this,
I think-
if I could. We have said that if we do this, we're not going to increase staff. If we're not going to increase staff, our additional cost is the tag. The tag can't cost more than a few cents.
That's the mail out.
Unless you go to PetSmart.
Well, but we're talking about picking it up, so I see no reason for the annual registration fee of $5.
But you have to do the mailings. You have to do,
I think
I think $5 is not a lot of money,
We're not doing this as a revenue stream.
right?
No.
I mean, if the council wants to impose an annual, we have currently on the books a lifetime registration
Right.
requirement. If that's what you're comfortable with, then let's move on down the road. If you want to do it annually, I think that ensures that these animals that we think are in town are still in town and are properly vaccinated in the event that something should happen.
I actually think that the annual, I think that the reason we have such low compliance is most people don't even know.
It's awareness, yeah.
I mean, I had a dog for a long time before I had any idea that you're supposed to register it, and I think we had that happen up here a few times. But, so I think that if we do something with an annual, I think it bring it more to top of mind and more of a recognition that we need to do this.
In fact, I asked Chief today to bring his citation book in case somebody said, my pets aren't registered yet.
Who could that be?
And the other, there's another point too about Trophy Club. We are a very pet-friendly town, and this Pet Fest, for instance, I mean, it is well attended, and so we're dog lovers. So if we're dog lovers, we ought to be taking care of our dog, and $5 a year.
But adding to that, think about that. Now we're going to go and have them come to Pet Fest, and we're going to be handing out tickets
Well,
at Pet Fest.
don't bring your dog.
What's the purpose of Pet Fest?
Well, but we are a pet. In fact, I wanted to have a pet parade this year, but just didn't get around to it.
Have a pet what?
Cool.
You mentioned the lifetime
Next.
registration. For a cat, how many of those do we do? Sorry.
Oh.
Mayor,
Just for a
We've
cat?
Just too seriously, come on.
We've done 100 and, oh,
the city of Graham had a $5 annual rate of registration, but for seniors it was less. So that might be something you might want to consider.
and to
Senior
pick up on the
citizens
dog
was-
park issue, if they show up at Pet Fest and they're not properly registered, we'll have a presence there to get them registered.
Yeah,
We're not
waive-
going to issue citations.
Waive the
That's right.
Just let's hope their water spraying is.
Okay, question, do we want to vote on this, or do we want to,
You have a motion on the floor.
we have a motion.
I know, but I'm just asking whether we want to consider needing to flesh it out a little further as to how we're going to implement?
You can, well,
Okay, well, that's just a thought, but, all right, we have a motion on the floor to approve the annual registration of animals. And really, very much for the purpose of being able to return the animal to its rightful owner should they get lost. That seems to happen a lot around here. So,
Now, just to be clear, we currently have a pet registration ordinance. That's good for how long?
For a lifetime.
All
lifetime.
right, so if we vote this down, that one stays in effect, and we don't have to do it annually.
That's a fact.
correct.
I'm not sure why we wanted to do it.
All of those in favor? Opposed? I guess we're not going to do that.
Mayor, you didn't vote, I don't think.
What?
You didn't vote.
I didn't.
Okay.
Abstention counts as a no.
She voted as present.
No, abstention counts as no.
Yeah, no.
It's okay.
Didn't mean to highlight that, but I thought maybe.
Well, I personally think it was a good idea, but obviously everybody else doesn't, so, okay.
Okay, so we still register our dog, though. We can
We'll move
still
on
let
to
drive.
Item number 12, I still think it's a good idea to
point
encourage
of
people
order.
to get their dogs registered.
Yeah, I think raise the awareness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we can have a dog registration month.
Sure you can vote for it.
I'll register mine at Pet Fest.
And vaccinations.
They're already
Currency,
vaccinated.
currency of vaccinations with the tag.
Okay,
First rabies.
yeah. Item number 12, update and discussion regarding section 551.006 of the Texas Government Code, written electronic communications accessible to public. effective September 1st, 2013. Consider and provide direction to staff regarding the same. Adams.
Okay, well, it's a tough item to follow, but here we go. Okay, I think we started talking about this at one time before, right at the end of the session. I've gotten some additional information, and I had a staff report that didn't quite make it in. So I'm going to go through that, and I gave it to you last time, so it was with the packet last time. The inspiration for this legislation was the city of Austin, and it's because their council members have offices next door to each other. And in talking to TML, they said the reason was they were running back and forth talking to each other, and so they had issues with walking quorums. So that's why they came up with this idea of the message board. The message board is for posting by elected officials only. It's not interactive with the public. And there are certain requirements that have to be met. Of course, it's in writing, and it's going to be in writing because it's on an internet online message board. It has to be viewable and searchable by the public, and it also has to be displayed in real time. So there's no moderator. What you post out there is out there. And then it would be retained, each of the postings would be retained for 30 days at least. In order to have this type of message board, the board has to be owned or controlled by the governmental body. It has to be prominently displayed on your primary internet website, and it can be no more than one click away from that main page on the website in order for you to maintain that. You can't have only members, as I mentioned, of the governing body or a designated staff member post for you on that website. You have to be specifically authorized if you're a staff person posting on that website, and you have to put your name on there that you're posting as a staff person. After the required 30 days for posting have passed, the retention period is 6 years. So we would be required to retain that information for 6 years. You cannot vote or take any action on that online message board. It has no effect. If you attempt to do that, it has no effect. If you follow all the requirements, if you are just posting one way, you're not voting, if you have it, displayed conspicuously on your website, one click away, then it does not constitute a deliberation for purposes of Open Meetings Act. So it is a method that you can use. And apparently the Austin people were just conversing about things back and forth. And so this is a way to just put your comments out there and have this discussion.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, I beat you to it.
Go ahead.
In section C, you start with the third line. It says, well, I'll read the whole thing. The online message board or similar internet application described in subsection A may only be used by members of the governmental body, that's us, or staff members of the governmental body who have received specific authorization from a member of the governmental body. Now, the word is member there, and that's singular, not a majority or the entire council. So is this saying that the mayor or myself could say, Mike, can you do me a favor and post something or comment on something?
I think what they are saying is because this is not a collaborative effort of the council, it's an individual. So I think it's allowing an individual to call up April Riling and say, will you post on the message board? Now, as a practical matter and as a policy matter, you probably want to take action as a board, I would think, in an open public meeting on who you would like to have that authority designated to, so that you weren't calling various members of the staff. There was one person that's a point of contact that you would be calling to get those items posted for you. But you'd have the ability to post it yourself,
Sure,
so you don't have to do that.
My personal opinion is that it should just be for us. We shouldn't have staff members posting on that.
Staff members cannot post on it unless they are
Unless approved.
specifically
Either way, I'm
authorized
saying,
by
even
you.
approved, I don't think.
He's
we-
saying even
Being
approved.
by authorized, for instance, are you saying that, like, Mike could post something for me? Or if I said to Mike, it looks like people don't understand something, could you post a clarification?
Staff members are not to post on it. The only posting, what would happen would be, like, say you're out of town and you don't have internet, or the internet's down, and you know there's something going on. You call Mike and he tells you what's going on, and you say, I really want to say X in response.
Okay, so what you're saying is they are only posting as a proxy for us?
Yes, and they have to
cannot
designate.
post.
Right.
Okay.
And
They
that's
are
a wa- and that-
designating that it's them posting on behalf of Mayor White.
and not be a one-timer each time. In other words, we could not give that person a blanket approval, say, well, just post for me when today or next week or next month or next year. It's a one-timer. In other words, I'm out of town. I don't have that much internet service. Can you do me a favor on my behalf? Post ABC. Is that a one-timer, or once I give that approval, he can post on my behalf?
Well, I think, he can only post on your behalf what you tell him specifically to post.
Oh, that's good.
So,
That's fine.
I think the council could decide, we're gonna have these two people, or tell Mike to decide who those points of contact are gonna be, and then you take action to give them specific authorization to officially post on this site, and then those are the people you call if you are unable to do a posting yourself. But the posting would be specifically what you tell them to post. It's not a staff comment.
Great. Now, one more question. Should we be talking just about a council agenda items and actions, or besides saying happy birthday, can we say, go click onto this site and see what I'm talking about? Or can we make political endorsements? Can we say,
Well, I don't think you could make political endorsements, because I think you'd be using a public system for a political purpose, which is
want to
not
be clear on
allowed.
that? Or how about national items?
National items.
Well, like the war in the
Like the Syria
It's-
conflict or
it's-
something?
Yeah, no, I'm serious. I think we should know and be able to define what we can and cannot do up front before we get into it and say, oh, you shouldn't have done that.
Well-
My interpretation would be it would only be relative to the town. Is that
Well,
not
that was
true?
my initial
It-
question.
and
Your
it-
opinion on the war in Syria is not subject to Open Meetings Act, so I guess you could say anything you wanted to.
If you look at subsection A of the Act, it talks about a communication or exchange of information between members of a governmental body about public business or public policy over which the body has supervision or control.
you go.
So that's
Okay.
the purpose of it. That's the deliberation component that this allows you to go ahead and make these comments without being in a deliberation in violation of the Meetings Act.
So just an example, we necessarily wouldn't have it on our agenda, the wonderful water feature at the main entrance, but by the clock tower. Could we comment on that? It's not an agenda item, it's not an action item.
I think the intent of the legislation is for council members to speak to each other about things, or to put comments out there to each other about things. If you wanted to say, I don't like that water feature, or I really love that water feature, but I'm hearing complaints, what do other people think? Then you could put that out there and they could comment back. This allows that forum that's open to the public to put those kind of comments out. But once again, you can't vote or take action.
Okay.
So earlier today, my comments about the dog ordinance, I could have put that up there, that's my opinion.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is there any limit to words? Only because you just,
There's none in the statute,
It's like
Mike,
Twitter,
you know.
right? You only have 1,400.
We have a police?
Mayor?
Sorry.
I can see an ethics complaint coming down now.
So it has to be hosted on our website or accessible.
It has to be, you have to have it on the front page that you have one, essentially. You could have it directly on your front page if you wanted to, maybe running down the side. Now I'm getting into April's business. Or you can have it no more than one click away. Like we have right now, we have the TC Exchange, and you
It's
click on
one
it and you
click.
go there. So yes,
And so so what we're talking about basically is a council version of TC Exchange. And then,
council on
So
it.
April, are you
Hold
gonna,
on.
are you gonna have us like each a log on?
Well, we could look into that. I know that we have the capability to create this online message board for our elected officials. I don't have a cost for you, as I
that was
haven't
my
been
next question.
directed
Are we set up for that?
towards that.
It's the
But
law
I-
as
I-
of September 1st. I thought you were doing that.
But you can.
But you don't have to do it.
You may have it. You don't have to have it. You may have it.
Oh, okay.
So I would have to look into if you would each get online access or how that would work on the back end.
So we are set up technologically to do it. We're not being charged for it currently because we're not doing it.
Possible.
But all we need to do is just call our provider and say, hook us up.
Should be the same as TC Exchange, I would think, in the setup.
Right, in
Just they don't
theory.
allow comments.
Yeah.
No, there's
But Microsoft guys should know all about this.
Yeah. Well, Yammer.
have different authorizations, though.
It seems to me that since it's currently a law that's in effect, we need to rapidly move ahead with, by next by the next council meeting and have all of our ducks in a row so we can take action.
That's next Monday. I don't know, do we need to,
I think, I mean, if I was to do it, I would just
this is really
adopt,
discussion.
Right.
adopt the ordinance. I mean, it just, you know.
The
basically
statute already
ensure-
gives us the authority to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
have to
so
vote,
we
right.
just have to say, we'll do it in accordance with the statute.
You can look at me and say, Sly, get this deal done, we want this.
Okay, I'm ready.
I want to see
The
cost.
question I have, and I'm gonna direct it to Patricia, is this. If, we go back to talking about, giving, as an example, me the authority to post on your behalf, is that just a telephonic notification, or do I have to have something in writing, you think?
Well, it would definitely, and that's one of the reasons it was posted for provide direction, because it would, really, if you're only posting exactly what they say to you, which is what you're supposed to be doing, then technically it should be in writing.
So I can't have access to the internet, so you need to
if
post
they've
it, but I
got-
can't use an
so
email.
if they've got email access, they can post it themselves,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Maybe.
That's an
Right.
oxymoron.
Yeah.
The idea is if you're, like, if you can't access the internet and you're talking to them, then you would want,
If I got
I mean,
crossways
we have
with
to have a little bit of
Mike,
trust here.
I could call you and have you post something that, and then I could deny that I told you to do it. I wouldn't, if I were a staff member, if I didn't have something in writing, I wouldn't post anything.
That's the point I'm making, is if you have the ability to email me to say, post this, please, then you also have the ability to post it.
Log on.
Yeah, I'm thinking we don't need to have, but before we say go do this, I'd like to see a cost associated with it, just to, I mean, it can't be that bad, but
We'll bring back some
yeah,
particulars.
dollars. Okay.
And I, you know, I think we have to be careful not to try to, you know, think of every eventuality. I mean, I would hope that if somebody called you and said, you know, I really can't get to something, can you post this, that you wouldn't feel like you needed to have it in writing. But
Well, you could be sitting at a council meeting, and you might want to follow up on something that was done, and you might sit there and write a handwritten note and hand it to Mike on your way out the door and say, would you post this for me? I think the staff posting for you is just a convenience. The main idea is that you get to put out there what you'd like to put out there.
And I would just go one step further. It's always those one little word, shall and should, you know? Yeah, I thought you said shall, you know, I meant should. Bad example maybe, but one word off, and that's not what I said. So Mike's right. Get it in writing or you don't get it at all.
Yeah.
okay. All right, so you have direction?
We'll bring back some particulars.
And another point of the discussion would be, even though that it exists, doesn't mean you have to use it.
And we should have a word limit, don't you think?
For us, it's just another thing that we'll have to monitor.
I'm sure it,
People's having heart
I'm
attacks.
sure at some point in the future it'll provide a lot of laughs.
Okay.
And a
So-
lot of reading.
Just what we need, more
And election
internet
material.
reading. Oh, God. Okay. I know we're going to go to site plan next, but can we take just a really quick break?
And then do you want to go to Adam first, or do you want to go site plan?
Oh.
You may be ready.
We'll bring the meeting back into session at 8:08. All right. Moving on to item 13, consider and take appropriate action regarding a request for approval of a site plan on Lot 2R1, Block B of Trophywood Business Center. Carolyn?
Thank you, Mayor. This site plan approval request is for a single-story, 5,990 square foot professional office building located in Plan Development Number 25, across the street from the Value Place Hotel, across the street at Trophy Branch Drive. The applicant has met the area and height regulations and parking regulations for this site. The photometrics plan submitted by the applicant has been reviewed and approved by the town engineer. The applicant's landscape plan provides planting surrounding the building and also provides the necessary screening around the dumpster. The applicant's landscape plan meets the minimum town requirements, provided the required tree mitigation is met. And this is a heavily treed lot. Article 8 of the subdivision rules and regulations is the tree preservation and removal ordinance, and that ordinance outlines which trees are considered protected trees, and almost all of the trees on this site are considered protected. Varieties of elm and oak trees. There are 769 caliper inches of trees on the site.
I'm sorry, Count, can you repeat that?
769 caliper inches of trees on the site. And after all of the calculation is done, for instance, they are allowed to remove what is in the building footprint. They're allowed to remove what is not protected. They're allowed to have some exemptions from mitigation. And in the end, and then they're keeping some trees, they're planting some trees with their landscape plan. So of the 769, they are required to mitigate 344. And with our tree preservation plan, that means $150 per caliper inch will be required to be paid into the tree fund. So the applicant will pay $51,600 into the tree fund. And with that tree mitigation and the landscape plan that they've provided, where they're preserving about 10 trees on the site, then they are planting trees. They're planting about 100, about 285, I believe. I'm not sure of that exact amount, but altogether that leaves 344 that need to be mitigated. And with approval of the site plan, you are proving that they will be able to pay that amount into the tree fund, and then their landscape plan will meet the rest of the required mitigation.
Carolyn, I have a question. At what point does the owner pay that into the fund? Prior to the permitting?
It's typically prior to building permit. Yes, sir.
Is that set in stone, or can that amount be negotiated or relieved, whatever the case may be?
The appeal, if you approve the site plan tonight with that tree mitigation and landscape plan, and the applicant does not wish to pay the $51,600, the appeal is to the tree board. And so within 10 days of this this action, the applicant can make a written request to the town manager that he would like to appeal that to the tree board, which the tree board is the park board. And so it would then go to the park board for consideration. And they have some authority. For instance, well, I don't really want to say anything. I don't want to speak for the tree board, but can I say that they can, like, for instance, they could approve a payment plan. That would be the tree board's authority that they could do. So
Could they reduce the amount?
I don't believe.
I just want to be clear. They are recommending body back to the council for final adjudication?
Sir. That's right. Whatever they decide to do is kind of like P&Z is a recommending body to council. The tree board is the appeal process here, but as a recommendation back to council. You are the final authority on this, so it would come back to you. If they decide to appeal, what you decide tonight, if they decide to appeal it to the tree board, it would come back to you for final authority.
Now, is that the proper procedure, or could we, as a council, say, you know what, we want to reduce it 20%, 30%, 50%?
Well, the applicant hasn't indicated to me that they're not willing to pay the $51,600, so
Keep that money, honey.
they haven't asked for a variance to this.
I want to.
And also in the appeal to the tree board, it specifically states in the ordinance that economic hardship alone is not sufficient to support a finding.
Mike, can we?
I was going to make that point, but Carolyn did.
Bill?
Mayor, I move to.
Can I give you a few other?
Sure.
Yeah. I've got a few more things.
No, go ahead.
I'm not sure where you were going.
I was going to make a motion. Go ahead.
Okay.
Not far, I hope.
I just want to mention that the exterior of the building is a combination of stone, brick, and stucco, which does meet the town's regulations. The signage, the applicant is asking for a variance on signage. And they are not allowed to have a monument sign on this site because we haven't been able to find a place to put the monument sign. Along Highway 114, there is an easement, and you can't place a monument sign in an easement. There just isn't anywhere on this site that doesn't have an easement along 114, which is where they'd like to have their monument sign. So because they can't place a monument sign on 114, they would like to request a variance for building signage on the south side of the building, the 114 side, and the east side, the side that would face Value Place, or as you're coming westbound on 114, you'd see the east side of the building. And so they are asking for a variance of 4 inches. Their copy height, their total sign would be 2 feet 10 inches, and what's allowed by ordinance is 2 feet 6 inches. So they are asking for 4 inches more on the south and east sides of the building. And that, with your recommendation of approval of the site plan, I know it's very minimum, with your recommendation, or with your approval of the site plan tonight, you would be granting that variance for those two the signage on those two sides of the building. The town engineer did review and approve the engineering infrastructure plans for this site. There is no public infrastructure. This is all private, and that memo is on page 103 of your packet. The Planning and Zoning Commission did hear this request on August 15th and made a recommendation of approval, including the variance for signage. They also had asked that a stipulation that the signed and sealed photometrics plan be approved, which we didn't have at the time. Since then, we've gotten it, reviewed it, it is approved. And the Planning and Zoning Commission vote was unanimous. And Mike Wright, the architect for this project, is here this evening if you have any questions for him. Thank you.
Bill?
Mayor, I move to approve site plan on Lot 2R1, Block B of Trophywood Business Center with variances allowed as requested to the east elevation signage and the south elevation signage.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? I had a couple of questions. The sidewalk, there are sidewalks on, I noticed it was on the east side, but were there sidewalks all the way around?
There are sidewalks all around.
Except,
That did not change, did it? Did I miss something on the plans?
what was that?
Come to the podium. Thanks, Mike.
Michael Wright, MJ Wright and Associates Architects, North Richland Hills, Texas. I don't believe there were no sidewalks required along Highway 114 and the TxDOT.
It was along,
Along
it's
the
along
Plaza
Trophy
Drive.
Branch and Plaza.
That is correct.
But not along 114.
Okay, is that the way we're going along 114 and no sidewalk?
Well, we would have liked to have seen sidewalks along here. Again, we ran into the easement issue. You know, there are some sidewalks along Trophy Wood Medical Plaza. There are some that are going to be in the recently rezoned PD 34. So it would have been nice to be able to include it in this section. Is that something that we can look at to possibly add?
We could possibly do that. I did work with another city today, and TxDOT did not want them on 121, for example, 121.
On 114.
They ruled it out, a project in another city.
Yeah.
And that comes down to TxDOT too, whether they'll allow a sidewalk or not.
Right. I just lean towards having the sidewalk if there's a way we can do it.
Okay. Look
and-
into that and see if that's
amendment?
possible.
No, because
Well,
if you
If
guys will
TxDOT,
look at
if
it.
TxDOT allows it and y'all require it, we have no problem doing that, correct?
They make an amendment?
Do we have to require it? That's what I'm asking. I don't want to put you in a position
Okay.
where we have to, go. Come back again. I'm saying is, can you try to put sidewalks in if I don't actually put it in there to require it? Because if TxDOT has a problem, then we'll have to go.
It's a moot point, right? If TxDOT won't allow it, so.
You can require it. TxDOT doesn't allow it. They override you. They're a state agency.
Carolyn, how do you want to handle this?
Patricia, can we make it a part of the motion? I would prefer that it be included in the motion if possible that sidewalks are required unless TxDOT refuses the request.
If that's in our regulation, then it's certainly appropriate to include it in the ordinance. I don't think it has to be.
Sidewalks are required, and I apologize. I thought that we had reviewed that, and actually I thought they had been included on 114, but without the town engineer here this evening, I just don't recall what the final discussion was. So it is required in PD 25, and if we could include it as part of the motion, unless TxDOT will not allow it.
Are we in the situation where it would revert back to our town regulations that required if we don't have it in here?
Well, the
So
town
the question is
regulations
whether I
do
need it.
require it, and I believe PD 25 does as well, and that's where I'm saying I'm surprised they're not on here, because I thought we had reviewed this and included the sidewalks along 114, and
So can we amend them?
Whether we need it or not. I'm trying to figure out whether we need it.
Just to
I
be
would say
sure
just to
then.
be sure, so
Okay.
that there's no confusion on it, I'd go ahead and amend the motion.
Okay, I move to amend a motion to add sidewalks along 114 will required unless overridden by TxDOT.
Second.
thank you.
Favor of that motion? The amendment, okay. And another question I had, I guess it looks like the whole thing is, like down near the highway, and then there's a lot of empty land, am I looking at it correctly?
They possibly are looking at a future phase 2 to perhaps add another building to the site if possible. At this point, they're not asking for approval of that.
Okay, but that is a potential.
Yes, ma'am.
So otherwise, I was wondering if it had to be them, maybe we wouldn't have to take down so many trees. Okay, I think that was the two questions I had.
I got, I know originally this was presented as 2 buildings. In doing this site plan now, does this prohibit or restrict some type of building in any way, or can they build a smaller building, or you haven't just crossed that bridge yet?
They have to come back for a site plan approval of a second building. If they want to add a second building, that would have to be approved by you.
I guess the question to you, sir, do you feel that you have enough room for a second building, the way this is presented?
As it presents now, probably not, depending on the size of the building that we put in. It could be in the future, the doctor could even purchase additional land to the west, or have a shared parking agreement. We understand would need to come back for council and P&Z for a full site plan submittal.
Okay.
Bill?
I had 2 questions, one of which is I noticed that we're putting up 2 lamp posts on the drawing. I was wondering if that meets our lighting requirements for parking lots.
It does, yes.
Okay.
The lighting is met.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I hesitated there because I thought we had one.
I believe we have one. That was at
Is
the
there just
direction of.
One
With
light.
one on a
There was
corner?
one at
Okay.
the entry.
I thought
That
it-
was as per staff's requirements and
Okay.
dealing with the city.
There's,
Okay.
there's one, and then there's building lighting, and between the the street light and the building lighting, that it does. And their photometrics plan also is required to be a certain foot candle at the property lines, and that
Yes.
met the town's ordinances as well.
And the second item is only a comment. I noticed for the for the tenant, the second building, the one that's further in, that I would anticipate that the door that's going to be used is going to be primarily the door to the north rather than the front entry.
That is correct.
My comment would be is when you come out that door and look about right there, you see the trash container. It's stucco. It might look better if it was of the manufactured stone. Just a comment.
Okay.
Let me just a comment.
Okay.
I guess I was just curious about that, that photometric, I think, is, at the line of sight. Can you explain that?
Well, line of sight is, a line of sight study is required in PD 25, the regulations for that particular development. It's really meant to be a an indication of what the residents adjacent to the site will look at. For instance, the Hampton, what the Jamie Court residents, their line of sight from their street across to the Hampton. In this particular instance, we've got an office building that's 1 story in height, and it's not adjacent to residential. We had them include the sightline study just because it's required by the PD, but it really doesn't have a lot of applicability here because it's not adjacent to
Okay,
residential.
that's what I was
and-
kind of trying to figure out. Okay. All right. Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, we're good.
Thank you.
Okay, very much.
Go back to Adam now.
Very good.
Ready?
Version 3.
Look at you. You were so prepared.
There we go.
Shifted.
Oh, let's start all over.
Oh,
Wait a
God.
minute, what happened? Something
Whoa,
got wiped out.
something got a lot changed.
Let me explain to you.
Something happened.
Yeah, well, he just.
Oh, I see where the two, the two.
No,
is.
the,
Okay.
and I wrote that to Councilman Rose. I have a formatting thing. I cannot make that 2 go up. It will not do it. And I don't think we tried this earlier. This is an old table we use, so we'll take care of that though. What I'm proposing here is the only rate that we added, the only new type of rental we added, was the spray pad Monday through Friday AM. Okay, all the other rentals remain the same. We only rent on the weekend. In other words, so I don't put dates with all of those other rentals. It's not a Saturday, Sunday. The only thing we have something new specific for is the spray pad Monday through Friday in the morning, because we have swim lessons, but we can get the spray pad open. You can't rent the pavilion. You can't do anything like that. You can only rent the spray pad Monday through Friday. The other thing that Councilman Rose, maybe he didn't intend to do, but after looking at it, we rent the complex 4 times a year. That's last year we rented it 4 times. I noticed a hole in my logic because the complex rental is the same price as renting the spray pad in the large pool. Well, anybody could turn around on me then in the future and say, I want the whole thing. It's the same price. Most people do not do this because the only people who rent those are the schools. So what I propose to do, and it's equitable and fair because that pulls 3 to 4 people for us, is raising the community pool complex rental rate for residential to $700, and in keeping with what was done before, a 10% increase on the non-residential rental rate to $770.
Quick point for clarification, and I have a feeling I know you're going to have to answer, but just want to make it clear. Technically, we have non-residents who attend Beck Elementary, who attend Medlin, whatnot. Since those schools are in the town of Trophy Club, are we saying that those schools can rent and reserve at the residential rate? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And there's always a resident that will do it, so
Yeah,
it's
that's what I was thinking about too, but just for clarification.
that is correct.
So you rent that community pool complex 4 times?
We rented it 4 times last year. It's not a heavy rental because a small party, they don't want to spread out that wide.
Right.
It's just too much for them. But at the same time, you can't have it, like I said, where it's the exact same price, because then why not? And yet, from a manpower standpoint, that's 3 to 4 extra people when we go over the small pool with a large crowd.
And I will say this, I mean, kind of a side note, the schools love it.
Oh,
They do. Great, yeah.
That's who will rent those, will be the school.
you have a school. We've had a out of town church rent it, but you're talking the entire pool rental is normally organizations. It is not a private party. It is not. It is a large organization.
I have a technical question here. Did we table this? Do we have to have a motion to bring it back up?
We have to have a motion.
Technically, yes.
Huh?
Technically, yes. Move to remove the, whatever this is, what are we calling this?
well-
Move ordinance,
Number
what's
10.
this one?
Bring on number 10.
Yeah, I move to remove, ordinance, 2013-26 from the table.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you,
Okay.
Danny.
Friday PM, that is 12 noon, I take it.
Friday PM, but all we rent is at night.
Okay.
So when I say PM, it's a
Good
night
point.
rental only.
Okay, thank you.
The rentals are basically after the pool is closed normally.
Correct.
I need to understand one more time that the large pool rental only occurs, does not occur Monday through Friday. Is that correct?
Correct. We have swim team. We have swim team in the evening, and we have lessons in the morning.
Okay. Okay.
I just have one suggestion. The only place that 2 hours is referenced is underneath. I would suggest that up under the pool rates, you put 2-hour rental rates up there, so there's no misunderstanding or confusion.
Yes, sir. We can do that.
Okay.
Amend the ordinance?
I would move that we add to the rental rate on section 3 that include that is a 2-hour rental rate in the headline.
That's section 2.
Actually, section
2.
2, yeah.
202.
We have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. All right. Somebody want to make a motion about the ordinance?
Brought it off the table. Yeah. Move to approve ordinance 2013-26 as previously amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All up in favor? Opposed? Okay.
2.
4 to 2. Do you all want to make any comment about that, or?
Yeah, I still think the resident rate jumping that high, I understand the number, but the percentage of jump was a bit much, but.
Okay. All right.
You need to rent it for $770.
Okay, moving on to the town manager's update.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start with the November election update. As I previously mentioned, both Dina Boudreau and Philip Schaffner have submitted their paperwork and have filed for election. Tomorrow is the deadline for anybody else who may have an inclination to file for that particular position. After which, on the 5th, our town secretary will conduct the ballot position event where we'll draw for the ballot order and proceed to get prepared for the November election. One of the things you'll see in the next meeting will be, and we'll put it on the consent agenda, is to amend the election ordinance. Because this is a November election, Denton County is not allowed to provide for election services for Tarrant County, so we also have to include Tarrant County. So we'll put that amendment to that ordinance in front of you on your consent agenda. We're already in communication with Tarrant County. There will not be a polling place in town for early election. We just got notified that it looks to me like on election day, the polling site will be located in Keller at the Fellowship Church on Florence Road. And
No, wait. I thought last time, another time this happened, and we said, for our local election, it makes no sense to go out of town. We're not voting for
There-
anything else.
we will, honestly, we just got this email this evening. I mean, as we were sitting here, so I haven't had a chance to visit, nor has Amy. We'll verify that, but I do think that at least our early voters in Tarrant County will have to go out of town. We have tried to accommodate a local polling place in town, but again, that's a cost to the town, and one that we've gladly paid in the past. So we'll continue to work on that because we do want our citizens to vote in town, obviously. So we'll work on that issue, but I just wanted to put you on point that you'll see an amendment to the election order that you've already adopted to include Tarrant County.
Could we divide the room?
I'm sorry?
Could we divide the room?
No,
Dan-
we have to give them a separate facility.
Yeah, it's got a
Well, and we've gone in past elections, we've gone down to the fire station, we've gone down to the PS conference room.
That was for a different party. That was for primaries.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone all over the map.
But the
But what we-
different facility was for primaries. It was for the Democratic and Republican primary.
right?
That was, yeah, it was for the.
So have we been able to share this facility with Tarrant County in the past?
We've never done it in one room together, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
You know those accordion things you put up?
Well, normally, I think normally Denton handles it.
Sometimes there's issues with getting voting machines, and, I mean, in the past, on occasion, we were told that they'd have to be separate, and we started gearing up for that. I think at one point, we had maybe one of the churches in town that was maybe gonna be a polling place, but then there was a shortage of voting equipment, so we ended up combining, but, I mean, we won't know, I guess, until we actually get to talk to them and figure out what can
Well,
be done.
You'll bring this
and
back to us later,
well,
after you talk to somebody.
when you're going to see the ordinance, at least including Tarrant County in the call for the election. We literally got this email from Tarrant County at 8:17 tonight. So
Be careful about the charges
Be
too,
fair.
because they've, in the past,
It's gotten our shorts real good.
they've tried to, give us a very high proportion of charges.
certainly take a look at that.
They reduced it when we challenged it, but
Okay. Transportation update. And I'm going to include the footbridge across the channel leading from the northern trail to the high school. Those plans are under review as we speak, the engineering plans. We anticipate that to be completed in the next week or so. The construction, after which the construction will commence, and that's another couple of weeks of construction time before that bridge is finally complete. But the developer has been in touch with NIST and BNHS, the high school. They know that there'll be a construction crew on the ground while they're doing all of that, and they'll probably come in like on a Saturday to set the bridge, because they've got to bring in heavy crane equipment to do that. So we will work around the school's schedule the best we can, but I would anticipate this bridge to be a reality, certainly in October.
One thing I would mention, and I'm sure the school will remind you when you talk to them about it, but Saturday, September 14th is the homecoming dance, and I believe it's on campus. So that Saturday may be out of equation.
Well, I mean, we're still reviewing the engineering plans,
Yeah.
and we're going to provide them comments. It's going to take another couple of weeks before we can even get to the point where we can issue a permit. Okay,
one thing I was wondering about, somebody happened to capture a picture of someone driving on one of
Yes.
the trails. What kind of exposure do we have with that bridge?
driving what on the trail?
There was a car on the
one of the
trails back there.
trails.
It's on Facebook somewhere.
Yeah, it was on the. Wasn't that in the high school side though?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, it was. I think
Yeah, it was the
I
high
don't
school
know.
side.
No,
It said it was.
it said it was on the high school, but then it said they got off on Roseville.
Yeah.
Can't fix stupid.
So that's the
That's no
trail.
different than somebody doing 80 miles an hour down Trophy Club Drive. It's against the law. We don't allow for that, and if we ever saw it, we would take appropriate measures to cite the individual. Motor vehicles are not allowed on that trail,
But
nor
I
on
just-
that bridge.
Now, it seems super wide to me because that car looked like a pretty wide car and it still had room.
The
How-
trail's
how
6
wide
foot,
is that?
right?
6 foot wide.
Part of those trails are wide, yeah.
Okay.
Trails are what, 8 feet?
8
Yeah.
feet. Yeah.
Wow.
As well as the bridge. So it is wide enough for our maintenance vehicles, but it specifically states that motorized vehicles are not allowed on those trails, including golf carts. So
Really?
if they're out there and we find them, we'll take appropriate measures.
Okay.
And if that photograph shows a license plate.
Didn't get a
or whatever.
license plate.
I mean, these guys are crack over here. They know what they're
And
doing.
that's only on television.
Obviously, 114, 170 project is moving quite well at this point. With the flyover open to 170, you should have already felt the lack of pressure at that Trophy Lake intersection. It's been wonderful, and it will only get better. So we'll continue to monitor that progress. Indian Creek.
Oh, wait, back up.
Yes.
I mean, I think we've all gotten complaints, and for every one I get, you probably get 4. The left turn at Trophy Lake Drive onto eastbound 114.
We've talked to the area engineer about that particular left turn.
Yeah, both of them.
And then the entrance to 114 coming off of that
On-ramp.
left turn. It's an education process. Some of the solutions that I forwarded to them weren't solutions. I suggested as an example, taking down 114, painting a strip on the right-hand lane to pinch it to one lane to the left side, so that we had freedom and access to the highway from that entrance ramp. That didn't fly.
Could take it to 2 lanes, though, just before would make sense.
Well, it is 2 lanes.
It's 2 lanes now.
3, isn't it?
No, what I'm saying is, at that entrance ramp, it is 2 lanes, because the 3rd lane is the exit ramp for Trophy Club Drive. So you'd have to pinch it to a single lane, and that wasn't going to happen.
To me, the bigger danger is getting onto 114. That entrance ramp is very short.
Yep.
Very short.
And
They're not gonna change it.
no,
Well,
there's
but
not a
there's
whole lot we can
additional-
do about it.
There's additional footage, I would think, that they could extend that, because it narrows in pretty quick.
It's
There's no acceleration.
let's just say TxDOT has been put on notice, and
that was my
and I
point.
feel like I'm beating my head against the wall, because I do get a lot of those complaints about what are we going to do. It's a matter of educating people, and I've already witnessed a lot of that education occurring. We don't have a lot of dual turning. I mean, if you're actually in the right-hand lane making a left-hand maneuver off of that bridge onto the entrance ramp, most of those guys already are heading straight and going to Trophy Club Drive, as an example. They know, our citizens understand that you need to be in that left-hand lane to properly navigate that maneuver.
I understand. Water seeks its own level.
It's frustrating, because it does represent change to us, and it's not the best of all worlds, but it is what it's going to be.
Sheet metal is cheap, I guess.
But once they have that flyover open, which they do now, then the light there as you go across
will be
should be changed. So that should help that as well.
That's right. We won't be sitting there for 4 or 5 minutes. Yeah. Indian Creek project. I'm still working with the 2 property owners. I did meet with one of them and had a very, very good meeting with one of the property owners that we currently do not have signed easements for. And I anticipate that particular property owner to come to some productive, agreeable position with the town in the very near future. We've engaged an independent appraiser to come out and appraise those 2 properties, or those 2 easements of their property. And once I have that number, I'll be able to secure that one, and then we'll continue to attempt to work with the last property owner, after which we're ready to rock and roll with that project. So we're making a little bit of progress. I wish we'd be a little bit faster. We have opened up the window for citizens interested in applying for the tax increment reinvestment zone, number 1, the one that you just created. Remember, there are 5 members to that board, one of which is dedicated to Tarrant County. Carolyn Sims will be that board member. We've dedicated one board member to the EDC4B board to have a presence on the board, so we're looking for 3 additional board members. We've opened up the window for applications through September 18th. This is a very important board. I mean, they're going to have significant influence on how that $5.4 million, if that entire area builds out like we anticipate. If you'll remember, it's about a $5.4 million budget over a 20-year period. And they are going to have the ability to manage those dollars, subject to council's approval. So it's very important that we get high-quality, finance-related, financially minded board members. Not to my knowledge, we've not had any applicants to this point. Yes. In fact, there are several people who have asked during the course of this whole process, through the development of the TERS, if you need board members, I would be interested. So we're going to reach out to those guys this week.
The one thing,
Some of the people that have submitted for the.
one thing I'll mention is that's related to that. I had a couple of friends in the neighborhood said that they were interested. They work at Fidelity. They went to Fidelity and said, "Hey, can I get permission to participate in this?" And Fidelity said, "No." They're really strict on what those guys can participate on for obvious reasons. So we're going to lose some really good quality candidates from that restriction, but it is what it is.
TCQ update.
I told them all to quit their jobs.
You're aware that we had the notice of violation from TCEQ. Teague Nolan Perkins has been the lead for us to provide the administrative documentation, and there is actually a professional engineering report that TCEQ is going to require. Tom Rutledge is doing that for us. He's well on his way to having that completed. I think we have until November the 6th to make that happen. After which, these are type 2 violations, and I know we've talked about that, but type 2 violations basically do not incur punitive or fees or fines, so long as you comply with what they're asking you to get done. We're well on our way and providing the modified plans for the elevated storage tank and all of the necessary as-built out in the PID. That entire violation letter was a creation, basically, of having to submit and create a new public water system. Because we had so much building up to that point, we had to go back in and cover the tracks, so to speak, to make sure that they have all the necessary information that we would have otherwise. So we're well on our way to having that done. I should also tell you that we are, this is September, so we are now, we have worked with the MUD to provide for all the necessary monitoring and sampling and testing of the PID's water using the PWS, the newly created PWS. We have all the systems in place. Everything's a go. We're working on one component, one reporting requirement. It's called a pumpage report. That, what on a monthly basis, the MUD does that today. They report what they totally pumped versus what was actually billed. You get a difference because you use water for fire, putting out fires or whatever the case is. Leakages in the system and that kind of thing. So because we don't pump, the MUD pumps, we're trying to affect with TCEQ a variance from that particular. I'll keep you apprised of that particular process. I think that's it, Mayor. Thank you. Oh, I want you to let you know that the bocce ball courts at Harmony are in place. We're not opening them up yet. He's got some landscaping issues to deal with yet, but bocce ball is nearing completion, just in time for the fall.
I'm going to
Bocce ball.
I was over there at Harmony Park the other day. Harmony Park
It's gorgeous.
hangout place. It is.
By the way,
Americans over there, we had a great time.
they do a really nice job of maintaining that park too.
Neo.
Those courts, those bocce ball lanes are gonna be shaded by the trees in the afternoon.
be.
This is good.
I had a question though, on the,
It's kids too.
on the sidewalk. I walked up the sidewalk by the church today, by the, going to
Yes.
Indy. Yes. Did they put that in the wrong spot? Did they end their sidewalk in the wrong spot?
No, what they're going to do is they're cutting back. They didn't end it in the wrong spot. They ended it at the wrong angle. We're cutting back one panel into their side, and we're going to change the direction of theirs just a little bit.
Okay. It was way up this way, I would have thought it would be.
Were you walking on it?
Yeah.
Did you have your hard hat?
Yeah, you ain't supposed to be out there.
Construction zone.
At least you wasn't driving on it.
True.
With her golf cart. Moving on.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, item number 15, mayor and council updates
Dogs are
regarding,
registered.
okay. I had the Northeast Courthouse groundbreaking. They're building a whole new courthouse for Tarrant County, right down near, actually right where the old one was, which is right across from Tom Thumb down there on 26. On the Women in Government Luncheon, which is very interesting, they had a speaker from TML, and she was a very good speaker, and she talked a lot about some of the glitches in actually implementing some of the laws. And Jeanette, do you have any specific? Yeah.
I'm telling you, she was a busy lady with all
Yeah.
the
There's a lot of,
and
a lot of, yeah, because TML's major thing is to make sure that the legislature doesn't do more to impair cities' ability to do their job. Because there seems to be a sense that, cities and counties are spending all the money when it's actually the state. They think the state thinks they need to protect from the cities, which is really strange, because they're actually the ones that have the closest accountability.
How is the state getting the revenue that they're spending it?
No, I'm not saying, what they're doing is there are certain laws they've tried to put in that put spending on us.
Oh, okay. No, that I understand.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
No, yeah. Earmarks and all that stuff.
Unfunded mandates, right.
As for example, you get to mow the highway, get to mow the median out along 114. If it, I mean.
Yeah. Oh, that was one she talked a lot about.
Yeah, and another bill they're considering, or did they pass it, where a town has responsibility for some of the highway.
Oh, yeah.
That's one that she was.
Yes, in Arlington.
Yeah, but what
Yes.
they did, actually, with the federal, the state change in the highway information, I'm saying this all wrong.
Transportation.
The state change in the transportation funding, it said they needed to save $165 million. Well, what the highway department decided, the way they were going to save that is they were going to make the cities do the maintenance
Yeah.
on
Pick
some
up
of the
the
highways. And that's what this speaker was talking a lot about, and how they pointed out that really, didn't make a lot of sense. Although one of the suggestions they made was there are some cities who would prefer to do the maintenance. El Paso evidently has a number of highways that they've been trying to get control of. So they might be able to get those savings dealing with the cities who would like to do it. And so, but it's a real good example of how, they can do something in the legislature and then we wind up paying for it. So they're fighting that one.
They're good at that, so that's their job.
Well, they've come
They
off
don't
it.
have dog ordinances, though.
No, they don't.
So anyone else have anything?
Joe Bobcats. Homecoming.
Any meetings? Okay. All right, future agenda items? Anything? Okay. Item 17, Pursuant to the following designated sections of the Texas Government Code annotated Chapter 551, Texas Open Meetings Act, the council will convene into closed executive session to discuss the following. A, Texas Government Code Section 551.0712, consultation with attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflict with the Open Meetings Act. Water and wastewater services for PID, alternative services for the PID, terms of representation, terms of interlocal agreement, provision of water and wastewater services, town assets, and related matters. B, Texas Government Code Section 551.074A, personnel matters, to discuss or deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. Town Secretary Amy O'Connor. We'll go into executive session at 8:55. Item 18 is to consider and take appropriate action regarding the executive session.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of our town secretary effective September 20th.
With great regrets, I'll second that.
Not to say it too, yeah.
I agree, with great regret. Okay, all those in favor?
No, I'm not in favor.
Yeah, well, we don't really have any choice.
There you go. Opposed?
Opposed? I'm opposed because I didn't really mean to vote.
Jeanette's opposed.
Okay. Is there any other action?
I have a comment, Mayor.
It's in the
Okay.
mailbox.
I debated whether I wanted to say this tonight, but I think it's important. And when I got my mail today, I decided I absolutely would make this comment tonight. Unfortunately, rhetoric that is designed to appeal to the public's fears has become the new normal for those individuals or organizations that cannot make a good case for their position on a particular subject based solely on facts. This very hateful way of debating or providing information to the public on an issue has now made its way to our community. I want to call your attention to the recent full-page ad that was taken out and signed by the 5 members of the Mud Board, as well as the mailer that was received by me today that was sent out to every resident of Trophy Club. These are perfect examples of fear-mongering at its very worst. Just for clarification, I will call this appeal to fear as when the Mud directors attempt to create support for their position by using disinformation, misinformation, misrepresentations, and innuendo in attempts to increase fear with the residents of the town. The terms misinformation and disinformation are used a lot these days by the news media. These are politically correct terms that are used by those that feel uncomfortable using the plain truth. Misinformation is a term meaning incorrect or inaccurate information and is usually given unintentionally. Disinformation is a term meaning information intended to deceive. In plain English, a lie. It is given intentionally and is used to elicit fear. The latter is what we are dealing with both the Mud's ad and the Mud's mailer, lies. It's just that simple. I will not waste everybody's time by exposing the fear-mongering that exists in both of these, but I will call your attention to the headline of the newspaper ad. The town of Trophy Club is trying to raise taxes and water rates. Please note that the 5 directors have made an absolute and flat statement. The town of Trophy Club is trying to raise taxes and water rates. That statement is an absolute, flat-out lie. Any normal person reading that headline would naturally assume that the Mud directors have evidence that this town council has plans to raise property taxes and water rates. There exists no such evidence. What does exist is a lie thoughtfully crafted to create fear with the residents of Trophy Club. To the contrary, this council has been working diligently to lower taxes. To be factual, we lowered property taxes last year, And that is the very reason we believe we will be able to lower taxes again this year. The only conversation we have ever had regarding water rates was to voice our strong objection to the suggestion made by the 5 MUD directors that residents that live within the PID should pay more for water and wastewater services than the rates paid by the residents of the MUD simply because they are out of district. Consider this. The 5 MUD directors are seeking approval to issue $15 million worth of tax and revenue bonds. Is there anyone anywhere that actually believes that $15 million worth of bonds can be issued without raising both property taxes and water rates? Taking out a full-page ad or sending out a mailer and filling them with lies and in large print does not make them true any more than standing on the street corner and yelling them at the top of your lungs. Obviously, the 5 MUD directors subscribe to the propaganda theory that states if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. Do not allow yourself to be lied to. The next time someone tells you that the town of Trophy Club is trying to raise taxes and water rates, you need to ask for documented proof that this is occurring or would even occur. Next, you need to ask this question. When the MUD Board issues and offers for sale $15 million worth of tax and revenue bonds, will my property taxes be increased and will my water rates be increased? My guess is that you will not get a straight answer to either question. Remember this, we live in Trophy Club, not Mudville.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned at 10:11.